0017, our 179th interview overall. This is June the 24th, 2005, and we're at the home of Sam Jones, who was in the Marine Corps in World War II. First of all, I'd like to thank you for allowing us to come and do the interview.
Quite all right.
Let's start out with your full name.
Roy Samuel Jones.
Okay.
Born September the 15th, 1920 in Newcastle, Indiana.
Okay. Is there any significance to the Roy or the Samuel? Were you named after somebody in the family, or Mom just liked the name?
Not that I know of. I had 6 brothers and 3 sisters.
Okay.
Well, they might have run out of names. I don't know. But now, after my brother died a couple of days ago, there's one other brother in Des Moines, so there's just 2 boys and 2 girls left.
Okay.
Out of 10.
Okay. Now, were you born at home or in a hospital?
I don't know that. I don't know that any of the 10 were ever born in a hospital. The later ones might have been, the last 2 or 3 girls, you know. But no, I was born at home, and my youngest brother I have still left he's 10 years younger than me, and I know he was born at home because I remember him being born at home.
Okay.
The rest of them I don't know for sure, but back then, you know, most of them were born at home.
Yeah. Now, do you remember where the house was?
It was an area called Oak Grove, but and my dad once took me by and showed me the area, but I don't remember much about Newcastle. We moved, when I was about probably 8 years old, we moved to Kokomo.
Okay.
And my dad was a railroad engineer, and he got tired of being on the road with Pennsylvania all the time, so he took a job at the Perfect Sickle plant in Newcastle, and then he got a job at Continental Steel in Kokomo.
Okay.
Driving that engine to haul the scrap in and out of the open hearth, you know, where they melt it back down. So we moved to Kokomo when I was about 8, and so I don't remember much about Newcastle.
Okay. Well, tell me a little bit about your mom. What was her name?
Her name was Mary Rachel Hartman.
Okay.
And she was born in Bridgeton, Indiana. You know where Bridgeton is, the covered bridge? Got a picture of it right up here. Somebody burned it down about 2 months ago.
Yes.
Well, she was born right there in Bridgeton,
yes,
just outside of Bridgeton. I think the second farm outside of Bridgeton to the, I call it south, I don't know for sure which direction it is. The roads down there curve around so much. But anyhow, she was born in Bridgeton, and she was from a family of 10 too.
Okay. What would you tell folks about her? What was she like?
Oh, she's just a wonderful woman. But with 10 kids, you know, we pretty much had the run of things. We just come and go as we pleased, you know. She didn't have to worry about anything. Nobody ever got in trouble.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, back in those days, about the only way you could get in trouble was stomping the watermelons in somebody's watermelon patch or something like that. One brother did that.
I bet he got taken to task for that one.
Well, yeah, he did, because he told his girlfriend who lived across the road, and she told the farmer.
Oh, boy.
I think we all had to pay $1 a piece or something or other.
That's a pretty stiff fine back then.
Yeah, it was.
How old was she when she died? I mean,
She was 89.
89.
Uh-huh. And my dad was 88 when he died.
Okay. Lived a good long life.
Yeah. And her dad was, my grandfather, he was 92 or 3 when he died. Yeah. And some of the other brothers were up around their 88 and 90s when they died. Yeah. Several of them were. The ones that died earlier were accidents, you know, something or other.
Yeah. Well, she must have had a lot of patience to manage that many kids, but it sounds like you all did pretty well.
Yeah, we did. My oldest brother, he worked at the Continental Steel in Kokomo, and he made good money. And then the next young brother, he during World War II, he went to California. He heard they needed people out there in the shipyard, so he went to California, and he was already married, and him and his wife moved to California, and then he worked various jobs out around California, and sometimes in the sawmills, log mills, you know, and sometimes he worked out during the war. He substituted as a mail carrier, I guess, and then he wound up working at an Air Force base down by Sacramento.
Okay.
He lived in Grass Valley. It was about 45 miles from where he lived.
Didn't catch his name. What was his name?
John Jones. And he had a country western band that played all around California, and I even played in what's the park out there? Yeah, not Yellowstone, but Yosemite National Park. They played there a couple times during the war, I guess.
Ah.
Then the brother that just died, all his life he played music with a band from Michigan to Texas, all in between. Wound up in Des Moines and stayed over there. He made guitars and violins from scratch, and then repaired instruments. And he has a basement just full of instruments, that he's worked on and made. And so
very musical family.
They were all handy. I mean, they could. Well, my brother, see that picture up there? Yeah. My brother in California painted that.
Wow.
He painted it. That's my mom and her dog, and he painted it from a photograph. And it looks just exactly like. Well, the photograph's on the back of the picture, as a matter of fact.
I thought it was a photograph.
No, the photograph is on the back of the picture.
Wow.
But anyhow.
Well, can you go through the names of all the kids?
Oh.
And
Merle was the oldest.
Okay.
And he was a half brother, Merle Belt. My mother had been married for a year or so before she met my father.
Okay.
I think she was divorced at the time, and then John was the one in California. He was a painter. He won blue ribbons in the state fair out there. He's also a horseshoe pitcher that played in the national championships, and he's also a bowler that did real good. And he lived in a mobile home, but he had one room and he had about 100 trophies in there. and he is also a rock hound. He makes find rocks and grind them down, make belt buckles and earrings and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then George worked at Chrysler in Kokomo, and then Morse, he was the musician in Iowa, and he just passed away a couple days ago. Then I came along, and then I had another brother named Frank. And George, Morse, and Frank, they joined the National Guard right after Pearl Harbor.
Okay. So
they all went into the Army with National Guard. And George and Morse became cooks, and Frank became a baker. And Frank, he says, I got tired of that, so he says, I told him I wanted to get out in some other outfit. So he got moved somewhere, and he wound up over in Battle of the Bulge.
Oh.
But, and then George and John both, I mean, that's one way I think John might have got to California, because back in the 30s when they had the CCCs,
right,
they were both in the CCCs.
Okay.
And they both wound up George was up in Oregon and John was in California, and then they worked on the Turkey Run State Park and the Pokagon State Park and one up in Kokomo. They had a camp at Kokomo for a while. But so and George cooked all the time he's in the CCCs. He was a cook also. Okay. So when he went in the Army, they made him a chief cook right now,
That was kind of a build up to the Army.
Oh yeah.
It was very much like the Army.
Yeah.
Civilian Conservation Corps.
Yeah. That'd be a good thing to have today, really.
It was. They did a lot of good things for this country.
Yeah.
Shady Side Park was built by the CCC, and there's just everywhere you go, you see their
I don't know whether my brother got in on that or not, because they had a camp there in Kokomo. I remember I used to go out there. I was a teenager, and I'd go out there and they'd teach me how to play pool.
Did Mom approve of pool?
Well, I don't know if she ever knew we played it, but pool, that's not a bad game.
Yeah.
We didn't bet on it or anything like that. So then I had, after Frank came three sisters, Leona, Helen, and Hazel. And Leona passed away a couple of years ago. She had cancer. And Helen lives in Kokomo, and Hazel lives in Bunker Hill, well, on a farm outside of Bunker Hill. But she's got diabetes, and she's completely blind now. But she's cheerful. She don't complain at all. Okay. And then the youngest one is my brother, 10 years younger than me, that lives in Des Moines.
Okay. And what is his name?
Paul.
Paul?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you mentioned a lot of musicians. I mean, did you ever play as a family? Maybe get together and was there much music going on around the house?
My brother and my brother, I think John was in California, but Morse and I went to the Sipe Theater there in Kokomo one time. They had two guys from Cincinnati, WLW. I gave Leif Harkness played a harmonica, and can't remember the guitar player now. You'd know him, but and I heard that Leif Harkness. I said, "Hey, I gotta have one of those." So I bought one. I think I gave $7 for it. Look, it costs $200 now. You know, one of these. Yeah. And so, but I never play it by myself. I just don't like to. Now, Carl Erskine, he tells me if he's driving down the road or a street, he's got a harmonica in his mouth and driving with one hand. He has one in his pocket all the time. Well, I never did do that, but the kids did get me one for Christmas. And I said, "Hey, I got one now," and carry in my pocket. So anyhow, so then I never played much except, see, my brother was in, one of them that played the guitar was in California and the other one's in Iowa. And, but whenever we'd get together, then I'd play. But I even carried it with me in the service. I think I played it maybe once. 4 years I was in the service. I had it in my sea bag all the time, you know. Yeah. And so I never played it much until we moved down here to Anderson. And a guy at church introduced me to another guy that he played the organ, John Nash. I don't know whether you know him or not.
I don't know him.
And then a lady played the organ and the piano, and then so I started playing with those guys and different ones, and hopefully became a little better. And then finally, I got a picture back here. Kenny Rutherford. I don't know whether you know Kenny or not. He played around the motels and hotels and bands, and he died about 2 years ago. But we played nursing homes for probably 6 or 7 years until he passed away. And then another guy, Max Sanders, and he plays the guitar, and we go about once a month now. We don't play very much anymore. Just not the same without the piano player, you know.
Yeah, not quite the same. Well, a little bit about your dad. Well, first of all, I'm not sure I got his name.
His name was Burl Quincy.
Okay.
B-U-R-L.
Okay.
And he, like I say, he was, well, I think he quit school probably about the 7th grade maybe, and went on the railroad. His whole family were railroaders from Camden, Indiana, over by Logansport. And see, he started out on a section gang and wound up as an engineer. I think he was running from Indianapolis to Terre Haute, or I mean St. Louis. But anyhow, he got tired of being on the road, gone all the time, so he took that job at Perfect Circle plant in Newcastle, and then he went to Kokomo to the Continental Steel and drove the engine up there for years, you know. When they brought in the first diesel, he drove it too, the first diesel they had at the Continental Steel up there.
Okay.
Another interesting thing on Guadalcanal, after we'd train all day, they'd take us down at night to unload ships, you know. Yeah. And one night we were unloading ships, and here was a bunch of barbed wire from Continental Steel, Kokomo, Indiana. Nails from Continental Steel, Kokomo, Indiana.
How about that? My dad had a part in this.
Yeah, but then, you know, after I got home and started working for the phone company, I'd get in and out of Continental Steel once in a while. As a matter of fact, I worked there before I went in the service. I worked there for a little while. But after I came home after the war, I was there in the barbed wire plant one day, you know, and the guy says, we're shutting it down. Says we can buy it in Germany and ship it over here. Cheaper we can make it. That was back in 1940, about 7 or 48, you know.
Wow.
So yeah, this stuff's been. Hey, we compete worldwide now. Too many people don't realize, you know, we're not going to keep the living standard we've had because we're competing with the whole world.
That's right. That's right. Kind of
Anyhow,
big change. So you're in a household that large. Did you have a specific chore that was yours?
not too much. We always lived, most of the time lived out where we could have a little garden.
Okay.
And sometimes we had a cow. And I think we just, whoever wanted to did it. We wasn't any specific things. Most of us went around getting jobs picking tomatoes and helping on threshing gangs and anything we could do to make a little money, you know.
Okay.
Got my first bicycle when I was about maybe 16 or 17 years old by picking tomatoes.
Huh.
Now kids get a bicycle when they're 3 or 4.
What'd you get paid for that job? Do you remember?
Picking tomatoes, as I remember, 5 cents a hamper. And a hamper is a pretty big basket, you know. Pretty heavy basket.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Backbreaking work too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Those tomato trees grow awful short.
Yeah, but you know, first thing in the morning you get out there and get one with dew all over it and wipe it off and eat it. It's good.
Yeah. That's probably worth more than what you got for picking. Just having it to eat. Now, you were probably about 9 or so when the Great Depression hit.
Yeah.
9 or 10.
Yeah.
And how in the world did you get by with it?
Well, I'll tell you, my dad was pretty lucky during the Depression. There were people with college educations that were not working, but my dad worked most of the Depression.
Wow.
And he got paid every 2 weeks, and we had a neighborhood grocery store just around the corner from where we lived there in Kokomo, and if we needed a bottle of milk or a loaf of bread or something, we'd just go over there and tell the grocer, and he'd give it to us and write it on a little slip and put it on a nail, you know.
Yeah.
And then when my dad got paid, well, he'd go in there, pay his bill, and that guy'd give him a little sack of candy, and we were always waiting for him to come home on payday because he had a little sack of candy for us. And I remember one Christmas Eve, somebody knocked on the door, and here was this grocer with a great big box of food, you know, fruit and food.
Yeah.
Just give it to us, you know. I mean, neighborhood grocers were really nice people back in those days. And then I remember one time I was a senior in high school, and somebody told me the principal wanted to see me, so I went to the principal's office. He says, "Say, somebody told me, this is out in the country, you know, most of them had fried chicken and steak sandwiches and stuff like that. Somebody told me all you have in your lunch sack is peanut butter and jelly." He says, "Do your folks need some help?" I said, "No, I like peanut butter and jelly." And you know, I mean, we got by. I mean, we always had a little garden, and once in a while a cow, but not too often.
Now, where'd you live in Kokomo?
I think I went to every school in Kokomo. We moved about every year when the rent come due, I think, or something or other. We first moved in town in Kokomo, right across from a guy had a blacksmith shop in it. It was actually, we're on the corner of Madison and Superior. No, Phillips. Madison and Phillips. That's the northeast side. Okay. And this guy had a blacksmith shop in his garage, and I remember going and watched him make the shoes, you know, and shape them up and everything. But then we moved over to another area where I met my best buddy. And then we moved out to Alto.
Okay.
And then we moved from there on the west side of Kokomo at a place called, an addition called Belmont. That was on West Deffinville. And then we moved from there up northwest of Kokomo, and where I went to grade school, well, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, half of the 9th grade. Then we moved south of Kokomo, where the Haynes Monument corner, and there I had to go to Kokomo High School. So we lived there 2.5 years, and then he moved back out northwest again. So I went back to Clay Township again for my senior year. And so we lived all around Kokomo, really.
You went a long time without paying rent, didn't you?
I don't know whether he was looking for bigger places or what, but we just moved. He just liked to move, but he never owned a place in his life. Never owned a place.
My dad lived on Wall Street for a while. I don't know if you know where that is.
Yeah.
Just off of Markland.
Yeah, I know where Wall is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's where he and Mom met.
Really?
Grandma had a beauty shop, and she kind of matched up the two.
Yeah. I run around that area a lot when I was a kid, up and down the street on my bicycle.
You mentioned you met your best buddy there. Who was he?
That was on Jefferson Street. I was 10, and I was about 10 or 12, and he was 4 years younger. His dad was a Greek, and run a Coney Island shop there in Kokomo.
Okay.
And every Saturday morning, we'd go down to the Coney Island shop, and he'd give us a Coney Island and a Coke and a nickel, and we'd go to the theater, to the movie. And they had those cowboy shows every Saturday morning, with a cereal and everything. So we'd go to those, and then on the way home, we'd play cowboy, slap our hips as we run through up and down the park and that kind of stuff. And so we were best buddies for years. He moved away. Well, they went to New Jersey, and for some reason or other, and then when I was a senior, they moved back. His dad won $25,000 on a Irish sweepstakes.
Holy
you sell a book of them, you get one. Get a ticket.
Yeah.
He won $25,000 on Irish sweepstakes. So they moved back and bought a home just north of Kokomo, and he got still in the restaurant business. I think he ran a restaurant just across from the YMCA downtown there. But anyhow, so then we became acquainted again. And he went to a different school. We were opposing players at that time, and then they moved to Peoria, Illinois, and so I'd hitchhike over there to see him. And back in those days, it was kind of safe to hitchhike, but not anymore.
Not anymore.
And so anyhow, and then I saw him on Guadalcanal. He was in the Navy, and he sent me an email, I guess, V-mail they called it, V-mail back then, and said he was going to be in the harbor there at Guadalcanal. How he knew I was there, I don't know, but he found out somewhere or another, because I didn't even know where I was half the time. Anyhow, so later I got another letter from him, and he said, well, I didn't hear from you. He says, I told your sergeant to tell you I'd be there, and they didn't tell me, see. Yeah. So I got another letter from him, and he told me when he was going to be there. So one day, it was on Saturday, I think, and I slipped off and went down to the beach, and I asked the beach master if he could, if that ship was in out there, and he said, yeah, that's it right out there. And I said, well, can you get me out there? And he said, yeah. So he put me on a little boat and went out there, and I went up the ladder, and I saw him on the rail, but he didn't recognize me. He wasn't looking for me. So I got up there, and he put on it. I don't know where I got that picture anymore. I think I sent it to him. He put on a grass skirt, and we were standing there by the rail. I was hugging him, he had a grass skirt on. And then he says, you want something to eat? I said, yeah, I suppose. And he says, come on in, we're going to get a steak. I said, steak? Man, I hadn't seen a steak in 4 years,
Well, I figure he'd give you a coney for crying out loud.
Yeah. But anyhow, we've been still good friends. He used to, he was with us. In Peoria, he was with a store called Two Legs. I don't know whether they ever heard of it or not, but it was strictly a men's store. Then it was a family-owned business, and they had them in Terre Haute and several Indiana, and then they got on the college campuses, and Two Legs wasn't dignified enough, so they called it Redwood and Ross. They got one in Fort Wayne, and they had one in Indianapolis. It's not there anymore. But anyhow, he became vice president of that, and every time he was on the road, he'd stop in and see me here, And so then he retired and he moved to Florida. So I talked to him once in a while, but we did a lot of fishing together.
Yeah, what was his name?
Joe Petrus.
Joe Petrus.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, if he's still in Peoria, we might be able to swing by and get him, but
no, he's
we'll be out that direction.
All right, will you?
Yeah.
No, he has, I think, one sister still in that area, but the rest of them, I think, are about gone now.
Now, you mentioned sports in school. What kind of sports did you play?
I played basketball and baseball.
Okay.
I wasn't I wasn't big enough to play at Kokomo because they had some pretty big guys when I went there, you know. But I went back out to Clay where I had played in the 8th grade, and then as a senior I played again out there.
You must have gone to a lot of different schools too.
Oh, we did. My baseball coach at Clay Township, Howard County, where it is. It's Northwestern now.
Right.
And the school Joe was at is consolidated. We'd have been in the same school now. But anyhow, my baseball coach said that and he was a track star at Kokomo High School and at Purdue. He says when he was at Purdue, his roommate was Johnny Wooden.
No kidding.
Yeah. So every time I go to California to see my daughter, I keep thinking I'd like to see old Johnny and ask him if he remembers this guy, you know.
What was his name? Do you remember?
I'll think of it pretty soon. I can't think of it right now, but.
Right. Well, that's something.
So then the war came along, and when my brothers joined the National Guard, you know, it so happened that my brother from California was back here right at that time, and so my 3 brothers that were in the National Guard and the brothers from California and myself, that's 5, we went down to play basketball against the National Guard team. And we beat them.
You've been playing together longer. That's
no, we never had. But
right?
No, 2 of them never even played basketball, you know. But
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. When you were a kid, did you have any childhood mentors? Maybe it would be a childhood hero, a cowboy or aviator or scoutmaster or someone in the family, somebody you kind of really looked up to. You recall anybody that stood out?
Oh, well, my oldest brother, he was in the Marines, you know, back in the 30s.
Okay.
And I kind of looked up to him, but...
where was he stationed during that time? Do you recall?
Where was he stationed?
Yeah.
Down around Jamaica, down in that area somewhere. I don't know for sure whether it was Cuba but down in that area somewhere.
Didn't they have sort of like a little banana war of some kind down that way around that time?
Yeah, I think so. But I don't know whether he's ever in any action, you know, military action or not, to tell you the truth. But I just thought it was kind of neat that he's in the Marines, you know. Yeah. I always liked the Marines.
Is that why you joined the Marines?
I think that must be part of it. I joined with another buddy from Kokomo there. We joined together. But I don't know. I wasn't drafted, you know. We just joined, you know.
Now, you were what subjects were you strong in school? The ones you liked?
Oh, I think English, and well, I like to write poems. I wrote poems, and one time when I was overseas, my English teacher at Kokomo High School sent me a book. I think it's called a small book with poems, you know, literary leisure, and I had a poem in there. Oh, for the Life of a Sailor was the name of it, Over the Bounding Sea. And then, so I wrote her back and says, that didn't work too well. I get sick every time I get aboard ship.
That's funny.
So I corresponded with her, I think about, well, I don't know how many times, but anyhow. And she even went out to see my mother. I didn't know that until later. But after I got out, well, just here 3 or 4 years ago, I had a call from a guy in Kokomo, and he said, that I went to church with up there, and he says, hey, they're starting a library or here history of Kokomo, you know, and they're looking for people. They're looking for a Roy Jones. They always knew me as Sam, you know. This says that wrote to Miss Helen Ross while they were in the services. Was that you? And I said, well, yeah. He says, well, they'd like to talk to you. So I went up there, called and they made me an appointment. I went up there and I took some I knew what they were doing, so I took several things that I had here, that old things from Kokomo. One was a coat hanger that had a store on there, a store name. It didn't say Kokomo, just had the store, Thalman and Levi, And I says, I believe that was in Kokomo. I don't know where I ever got the hanger, wooden hanger, you know.
Yeah.
So I took it up there and gave it to him, and then some other things, and they gave me a copy of all she had kept every letter. About 40 students wrote her while they were in the service.
Oh my.
She had a copy of every letter. And they gave me a copy I wrote her about 13 times. They gave me a copy of them.
Yeah.
And, but what they're really looking for is somebody that had a copy of something she wrote them overseas. But, you know, how do you hang on to something like that over there, you know? So I didn't have anything. But whether they found anybody that did have, I don't know.
Sound like if you had a favorite teacher, she was probably it.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, when I came home after Iwo Jima, I got a 30-day furlough.
Okay.
And I went up to see her, you know.
Okay.
And somebody was standing outside the room, and I says, tell Miss Ross I want to see her, you know. And she come out there and she made me go in and talk to the kids. I didn't like that very well.
You like English, but not public speaking, huh?
No, I didn't like public speaking. Not at all.
I'm curious. I know you go to church now. Did you go to church when you were young?
Yeah, and you know, and I don't remember. I understand that my mom taught Sunday school and played the piano, but I don't remember her ever taking me to church.
Huh.
I don't. Well, you have 10 kids, you know.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I started going to church when I was probably 14.
Okay.
And a little neighborhood, well, they call it neighborhood house. It wasn't really a church, a neighborhood house. And they had a preacher and a couple of ladies that oversaw things. And but we got a basketball team with all the kids in the neighborhood, see. So I got started playing basketball. And that's the reason I always tell, you know, the people at church, hey, you need stuff to attract these kids. You know, if you want to get church to grow, you got to attract the kids in, and then the parents will come in.
That's good testimony there of how that works.
Yeah. So we've just built a new addition on, you know, we just built our sanctuary. Now the old sanctuary, they're turning it into a gymnasium and for basketball and volleyball and whatever.
That'd work out real well for there. It's a nice size for that.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was built for that purpose to begin with. Yeah.
You, when you were in high school, did you have any idea what you wanted to do when you graduated?
Not, well, of course I thought about going to college, but you know, back then, you know, how you go to college. So, no, I didn't really. I got a job, well, right out of school, I got a job working in a foundry, Hoosier Iron Foundry up there. They made, I worked on a sand core machine, where these guys made sand cores for transmissions. We sent them, I had to take them out of the machine and put them on a rack, 3 and 3 and 3, 9 on a rack, and not crack them at all, you know, and then put them in the oven and bake them, and then take them back out, and then we sent them down to Chrysler, and they made them transmissions out of them. Okay. And I worked there for a year or better, but I was working like 9 at night till 9 in the morning, you know, and trying to sleep in the daytime with kids yelling all over the place. And so I quit there, and I got a job at Continental Steel, carrying mail around from one department to there, all through the area. And then I sent in an application for, well, maybe I just read in the paper, but anyhow, I went down to Shortridge High School in Indianapolis and took a civil service exam, and they called me down there to work in the state unemployment office. Okay. And I worked there. I was working there when I went in the service. I never even thought about going back there. I mean, I should have, because I'd have had some time accrued and everything, you know.
That's true.
But I went home and went up to apply for what they call, I think they called it 5220 or something or other. You get $20 a week for 52 weeks or something or other until you find a job. And they said, well, hey, you was in communications. They're looking for people over at the telephone company. So I went over there the next day and had a job.
Well, that worked out.
Worked there 35 and a half years.
Yeah, worked out real well. And you graduated in 1938?
39.
39. From Kokomo, Mexico?
No, Clay Township, Howard County,
Okay.
which is now Northwestern, consolidated with 2 other townships.
Okay. Where were you when you heard about Pearl Harbor? You recall that?
It seems to me that I was working at Continental Steel that day.
Okay.
I think I was. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how you heard about it? Was it just passed around word of mouth?
I can't remember whether I heard it on the radio or heard it on the radio when I went through one of the departments, or whether somebody told me. I don't remember. But I think I was working that day.
Everybody just
It was a Sunday, I know.
Everybody just kind of stopped what they were doing, or did they just,
I don't think there's many working on Sunday.
Yeah. You recall your reaction to it?
No, it seemed a little distant at the time, you know.
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor, way over there, what's going on, you know.
Yeah. And so,
But the country soon got unified.
pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
But do you remember President Roosevelt's address to the Congress the next day, or
Yeah,
did they play that on the radio?
I don't remember it too well, but I heard it. I remember hearing it. Yep.
So you went ahead and enlisted. When did you actually enlist?
Where?
When?
I went in on June the 8th, 1942,
Okay. Okay. So you
in
went
Indianapolis.
pretty quick. And why did you decide to enlist? I mean, what
I
got
don't
you
know.
going that direction?
I don't know. Just going home on weekends, I guess, and well, we knew we were going to get drafted, you know, if we didn't go in. So, talked to my buddy in Kokomo, and he said, "Hey, let's join the Marines." Okay.
Mom have any kind of reaction to that, or?
No, I don't think so.
So you went down to Indianapolis, to Fort Harrison?
No, it's a Marine recruiting station down on, I believe it was on Washington Street.
Okay. All right. And did you go through your physical there?
Uh-huh.
All right.
Then we went to Parris Island for recruit training, and as we got off of the bus, everybody started yelling, "You'll be sorry!"
How long did it take you to figure out that being in the Marines wasn't quite as glamorous as you first thought?
Well, you know, everybody can play. I enjoyed boot camp.
Did you?
I enjoyed the challenge of it. You know, I really did. And I qualified as an expert. I'd never shot a rifle in my life, but I qualified. I did everything they told me to do and qualified as an expert. And that's $5 more a month, you know. And then they asked me if I wanted to stay there and be a rifle instructor, and I said, no, I've already signed up for telephone school. So I went to Quantico, Virginia for 6 weeks of 6 or 8 weeks of telephone school.
What was Parris Island like at the time? Was it a fairly new base at the time?
Well, it wasn't new. As a matter of fact, I'm not that much on the history of it, whether it was before San Diego, or I don't know for sure.
But how developed out was it at that point? Did you have barracks, or were you in tents? Or
We were in Quonset huts.
Okay.
Quonset huts. Okay. We were in barracks, nice barracks at Quantico.
Okay.
And then when we went to, after telephone school, then I went to what's new, they call it New River, North Carolina.
Okay.
It's called Camp Lejeune now, I think.
Yeah.
And that's where I got together with Cliff and the other guys from Alaska, you know.
Yeah.
And we formed, well, we didn't form, we just formed a communications unit there. And then we shipped out to Nyland, California, and out in the desert for maneuvers, firing we were in a pack howitzer, 75 millimeter pack howitzer outfit.
Okay.
And so we went out there for training.
Okay. We better stop here. Too, I'm curious about the drill instructors in basic. I always like to kind of compare Marine drill instructors from period to period. Were they pretty tough or decent, or?
I thought they were pretty decent when I went in. Now, you know, we did a lot of marching and stuff like that and drilling, but hey, that's what you go in for, you know. And I remember one time we had a maneuver where we had two sides, and one of them was supposed to try to defeat the other side or something or other, you know. And I remember somewhere along the line there, I jumped off into a bunch of weeds, you know, and hid, and here come that other side all marching back down in, you know, and I just got in line at the rear end of them, you know, and went on in with them. When we got in their camp, I says, okay, you're all captured. But no, it was hot down there. I mean, on the day we fired for record with the rifles, like it was 110 in the shade, you know.
Oh my!
But hot. But you know, about 4 years ago, my little reunion, the guys I get together, I called the general down there at Paris Island, and they set us up. They give us barracks over where the NCOs lived, you know, and across on the mainland, yeah. And Beaufort, I think it's called, Beaufort, yeah, and they had buses there next morning at 6 o'clock to take us over to the island, and took us all over the place and showed us how their training goes now. You know, I don't remember going through the gas chamber like they do now. I don't remember that now. Maybe we did, but I don't remember it. I don't think gas was that much of a problem back in World War II. At least not in the Pacific.
Treated you a little bit better that time than the first time you had you down there, didn't they?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, they treated us good.
Did any of these guys have a favorite punishment that they would mete out to?
Not in boot camp. I remember one time where it was, I think it might have been on Guam, I don't know, where we were going on a work party, I guess. And of course, you know, you had the driver of the truck, and then they have usually an officer sitting next to him, and then there's 3 rows of seats. You'd have about 9 guys back there, you know. And this one friend of mine from Detroit, he was up in the front seat there with the driver, you know, and the second lieutenant come along and says, I'll take that seat. And this guy says, he crawled out and says, they'll do it every time. The guy reported him, and I think he got so many days down in a hole in bread and water.
Paid for that one, didn't he?
Yeah.
You see, you went to Quantico, and from Quantico, I forget, where's the last place we left off here?
We were from Quantico back to New River.
New River, and then you went out to the desert in California.
Yeah, Camp Dunlap.
Dunlap, okay.
Out in the desert.
What's that close to?
You know where the Salton Sea is?
I've heard of it, but I don't know my geography out there that well.
Well, it's not El Centro, you know where El Centro?
Okay.
Okay, yeah. It's just north of El Centro.
Okay.
Straight north of El Centro.
Okay. And how long were you there? Just like a month or 2?
We were there from I think about somewhere around the 1st of September until we shipped overseas on February the 14th, Valentine's Day of '43.
Okay.
So we were there from September until about the 1st of February, because we spent a couple weeks at San Diego.
San Diego
base, yeah.
Okay. And at San Diego, was it just primarily just a holding area?
Yeah, but then we drilled with full packs and everything, you know, and actually made a landing from somewhere off the coast there, somewhere, you know.
Okay. Now, what specifically was your job?
Maintaining communications, stringing the line from the switchboard. Each battery had a switchboard,
okay.
And then and they were all connected to the other We had easy. 2nd Battalion had Dog battery, Easy battery, and Fox battery, okay. And we had a line from each switchboard, you know, to the other, and then from there into the fire direction center, and then my job was to take a line from our switchboard and follow the infantry up with it, you know, for forward observers, and okay. Carry a telephone.
How long would those lines be between artillery and the forward areas?
Well,
a mile or?
Yeah, well, of course, you know, the switchboard was always set up at the battery position, back by the guns.
Okay.
And depends on Iwo Jima. Iwo Jima is about 5 miles long,
Okay.
2.5 miles wide. So by the time we got relieved from Iwo, we were probably up there about 4 miles long. And on Bougainville, I don't know. Most of the time I was back on the switchboard at Bougainville. Although one time I suggested to my sergeant that I'd go up halfway and cut in a phone, halfway up, so that, and if we had a problem, I'd know real quick which way it was, So we did that, and I ran up and down from the switchboard to their part of the time, and then a lot of the time I was on the switchboard there.
Okay. That's good thinking.
I remember on Christmas Eve, so I was on the switchboard from like 6 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning. See, another guy had it in the daytime, and I'd take it at night, and so I went in. I'd go in there, and we had dug a hole, and you couldn't dig too low because you get into water, Okay. But we dig a hole, and then we had sandbags up and covered with sandbags, and and I was in there on Christmas Eve, and then Christmas morning, I'm in there, and the sand starts falling in on me, I thought, what's going on? I thought it was a tank going by real close, And then and it started getting worse, and so I got out, and everything was swaying like this. It was an earthquake.
Oh.
First experience of an earthquake.
Holy smokes. So we shipped out of San Diego. First time on the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you do?
Well, no. I mean, when we were at New River,
Okay.
we went out, in assault boats and came back in, made assault landings,
Okay.
mock assault landings. I always got sick. Even riding like in New Zealand, riding up and down those hills like that in the back of one of those trucks with the cover down, you couldn't tell where he was at. I get sick easy. Motion sickness, I almost always got sick. But now going from San Diego to New Zealand took us 14 days because we went like this. We didn't have an escort or anything,
Okay.
And I don't remember getting really sick. They had a kind of a PX on there where you could go back and get lemon drops. Somebody told me lemon drops keep you from getting sick, And,
Yeah.
I don't think they had Dramamine and all that stuff then. If they did, they didn't tell us about it. So anyhow, I wasn't sick very much, but matter of fact, there was days when the water was just like that glass. I mean, you could see the bugs landing on it,
Gee.
out in the middle of the Pacific. Can you imagine that? And other times it wasn't that good, but sometimes it was, and it wasn't too bad going over there.
I've heard some people tell me that getting out of San Diego Harbor was the worst part of the trip. That it was pretty turbulent there.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
I've heard different from other fellows, but
Yeah,
some fellows said that was the worst part of the trip for them. Now you were.
It depends some on the ship you're on. I was on a big luxury liner.
Okay.
There was about 5,000 on us. They converted the swimming pool and gymnasium into bunks, And so USS Lurline's what it was. It was a Matson liner. And after the war, I read somewhere that was over in Hawaii. They're using it going from island to island, But we went to Hawaii about 10 years ago. And my son and daughter sent us over for our anniversary, And I asked them over there, and it wasn't in operation, so I don't know what happened to it.
Oh.
But it was a nice big ship.
Did you ever cross paths with Paul Loftus?
No?
Okay, Paul lives here in town. I think he was on probably the same ship.
Really?
But there was a lot of other fellows on there too.
Yeah.
So what'd you think of the ocean when you get out in the middle of it, and there's just nothing but water as far as you can look?
Well, I didn't think too much about it. I mean, I enjoyed when I wasn't sick. I enjoyed standing back on the back watching the phosphorus in the water,
Yeah.
But and then at night, of course, we had to stand guard looking for submarines. I don't know how you expect a guy to see submarines just looking around with his eyes, but anyhow, they had somebody on guard all night long,
Yeah.
4 hours at a time. because we didn't have any escort. So I'm up there looking around. I don't know whether I see a submarine or not.
Your destination was New Zealand.
Yeah. We pulled in the Auckland Harbor, and I remember the first thing that struck me, there was a couple cars, you know, and they passed, and I said, "Hey, they're on the wrong side of the street," just like in England, you know.
Yeah. Were you there very long?
We were there from first of March till probably about the last of May. We were about 3 months, I think.
So this is what, May of 43?
43, yeah.
43, okay. And what'd you think of New Zealand?
Oh, it's a beautiful country, and the people are really nice. We once went there for maneuvers, you know, to get more practice, you know.
Right.
And once they gave us a weekend and went down to Rotorua. That's the Yellowstone of New Zealand. Okay. That was really nice, going down there and see those geysers, you know. And matter of fact, I remember I saw one woman. Well, first we got down there and it was cold, you know. We had a heavy stuff on. It was cold, and they said, "Well, you get in those hot baths, you know, and you'll be warm all day." And sure enough, well, we got in there for about 20 minutes, and we was warm all day long. Yeah. But I remember seeing one woman walking down the street with a pot in her hand, and she lifted up a manhole cover and she had a pot of meat. She put it down in there and put the manhole cover back on and come back, and it's all cooked for her, steam heat, you know. I read later, after I got home, that they were trying to harness that steam for whatever, but how they ever managed to do it, I don't know. Hmm. But I'd like to go back, but I wouldn't want to ride a boat that far. I wouldn't want to ride on a plane that far. That's too much.
Long distance. So at some point, they decided the vacation was over. It was time to go somewhere else. Right?
Yeah. Then we went to Guadalcanal. Yeah. And for further training. Okay. And now in New Zealand, we lived in, we called them sheep sheds. You know, they're just little sheds that enough for, I think there was 4 cots in each shed, as I recall. And I think, other than that trip to Rotorua, I think I was in Auckland maybe twice. There was a little, real small town there close to us, and they had a big shed about as big as this house, and they had cookies and punch, and they had a piano in there, you know, and just had entertainment, put on shows and stuff. Sometimes it was our guys that put on the shows, you know. But so I didn't. Then in Guadalcanal, then we went for different training because that was jungle, more jungle, and I liked the climate, but it was nice. Mosquitoes are bad. You always had to have mosquito nets on your cots, you know, and then of course Guadalcanal's where where we were first bombed by the Japs. I do remember that we were down at the beach unloading ships that night, and it was a full moon, and you could hear those planes come over, you know, you could hear them long before the radar ever did. I think they had radar back then, but it wasn't too good, you know, so you could hear the planes before the alarms ever went off. And I remember hearing this one, and boy, he was right up above us, that full moon, and you know, and a bunch of guys sitting around. There wasn't very many foxholes there. There's just a few on the beach there. And there's one colored guy there. He was helping unload the ships or something or other. And he says, "Boy," he says, when that alarm goes off, I'll beat you in there." And boy, he did. But I remember, boy, when you hear that thing coming down, it just sounds like it's coming right at you. You know, it could be a half mile away or a mile away, but so you just lay there with your face in the dirt and digging your hands in the dirt, you know, because you don't know where it's going to go. And then later on Guadalcanal, we moved up into, we were in pretty nice. We had tents set up in coconut groves, you know, and it was really nice. And because they were all cleared out, you know, but we'd go out in the jungle on training once in a while. And there was a lot of snakes and big spiders and stuff like that out in there. One weekend, my sergeant from Pennsylvania that just passed away, he was a Catholic, and he wanted to. We heard about a Catholic mission over on the other side of the island, you know,
Yeah.
and he wanted to see that Catholic mission. So there was about 6 or 8 of us volunteered to go with him. So we took off early Saturday morning, and we'd come up to this one river, and there was a few natives there, you know. Women are out. They wade out in there, and they take their top off, and if they have a top on, even,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and they'll wash it, and you know, and then take the bottom off and wash it and put it back on, and right out in the river. And so we waded across that river, holding our rifles and stuff above our heads, because there were still Japs on Guadalcanal, but they stayed pretty well hidden, you know.
Yeah, by that time they would have been pretty well subdued, but
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
wondered just how many were still there.
No, they stayed pretty hidden, unless they tried to sneak in your mess hall and steal food at night, you know.
Right.
That happened, I guess. But anyhow, so we went for about, I don't know, an hour or two, and we came to a little village, and my sergeant says, well, how long to the mission? 2-3 hours, 2-3 hours. So we go 2 or 3 hours again, come to another village, and 2 or 3 hours. Come dark, you know, and we knew we had to stop because we had to go back the next day. So, and I think that village still said 2-3 hours. So we started set up a little camp along the bank there, and it was getting dark, and we had a little fire, and we heard somebody wading down the river, you know, playing a guitar, saying, "Show me the way to go home." There's 3 or 4 of those natives came down there, you know, and they came down, and so the sergeant says, any Japs still around here? Oh yeah, there's some still around. So sergeant says, well, we gotta have a guard all night long, lookout all night long. So I think my lookout must have been from 12 to 2 or 12 to 3 or something like that. And I heard that water rushing down. I heard the weeds, you know, in the water, and I thought, is that Japs or what? Then I realized we'd seen lightning up in the mountains, you know.
Yeah.
And boy, that river was rising. I had to wake everybody up. We had to move back up further up on the bank, you know. The next day when we got back to that first river we waded across, we had to swim across it.
Yeah. They rise pretty quick down there, don't they?
Yeah.
Were the Japanese taking shots at you, or were they just pretty much hiding?
Not pretty hiding there on Guadalcanal. If what was left on Guadalcanal, of course, that's a pretty big island, you know.
Yeah.
And we were pretty much stayed in just one area, down around the harbor where they unloaded all the ships, and then we were about maybe 3 miles from there, and then we just did maneuvers out around close to our camp, you know, mostly.
Now, what was your rank at this point?
I went in as a PFC, as a private,
Okay.
and when I graduated from telephone school, so, you know, they made me a PFC,
Okay.
and I came out of PFC.
Okay.
And I was told that because the radio and telephone guys had technical warrants, and to get a promotion, they had to come out of Washington. You know, and they didn't bother with it. You know, so we'd get guys in that were cooks or whatever, and let them help us carry the wire, and they'd make sergeants out of them because they get a field warrant. See, they
Yeah.
promote them right in the field. They couldn't do that to us.
Huh.
So when the guy discharged me, some captain discharged me in Annapolis, Maryland. He says, "I can make you corporal if you want it." I said, "Don't do no good. I'm out of here tomorrow." You know.
Yeah.
So I probably should have taken it so I could say I was a corporal.
Why mess with those higher ranks? It's just
Yeah.
nothing but headaches.
Yeah.
So how long were you on Guadalcanal?
Well, we were there until went there, I think, about the end of May, maybe, and then we went to Bougainville. We landed on Bougainville on November the 11th,
Okay.
Armistice Day. And I remember the first night for some reason or other, I didn't seem to be with, how you doing?
Yeah.
Didn't seem to be with most of my other buddies. I remember on Bougainville, I was on a little landing ship that dumped me off on a little island about half mile off of the beach called Purata, P-U-R-A-T-A, Purata Island. It had supplies stacked all over the place, you know. So I'm in there, and I'm kind of by myself, and so it starts getting dark. So I dig me a little foxhole in the sand and lay down there, and I with my rifle on my chest, you know, and I'm hearing something sound like a Jap crawling through the weeds, you know. I thought, well, so I got my rifle all ready, and pretty soon it got closer and closer. Pretty soon a sand crab fell in on me. That's all it was, you know. That's how you magnify things when your imagination.
Oh, I bet. Now, were you in on the invasion of Bougainville, or?
No, but they had been there. Somebody went in there a day or two ahead of me because, like I say, they had a whole bunch of supplies on this island. And then the next day they took me on into the beach.
Okay.
And that was swampy and muddy, you know. I mean, it was a mess. And you know, and I still had not seen a dead American. See plenty of dead Japs, you know, and they were building them, they were, you know, bulldozing them in the ground, you know. Had to get rid of them. But I never saw a dead American until I got to Guam. But I wasn't clear up on the front lines in Bougainville. And all through the war, I never saw one of my friends. I lost some friends, but I never saw them killed, and you know, so I mean, they actually weren't friends. They were just guys in our outfit, you know, like a captain, private end. He's not a friend of a captain, you know. But we had one captain. He was a cab driver in New York, but it had been, I guess. But he was a captain, and he was a spotter, and he got shot down in a little Cub plane, so I call it a Cub plane, spotting plane over at Iwo. They got shot down in it.
Do you recall his name?
Captain Friday is all I remember.
Friday.
I don't know what his first name was. And then we lost some of our outfit in you know, the Japs threw hand grenades in the foxholes there on Iwo, but I didn't see it happen, and I was pretty lucky that way.
Now Bougainville, you think of those islands as all being sand, but I've heard other guys say that it was just knee-deep mud.
Oh, yeah.
And it was...
Yeah, I got a lot of pictures of that. I got a history of the 3rd Marine Division book, but yeah, it was, like I say, well, you couldn't put the switchboard down very far because you get, well, as a matter of fact, we'd dig down about that far, and you'd get water, get a helmet full of water to shave in, wash and shave in, you know. And so, and then it was, I don't know where it had rained a lot before we got there, but it was really muddy. And that's the only place where we put any telephone lines up on trees to get across one road and keep it out of the swamps, you know. But most of the time we just laid them on the ground.
So how long were you in Bougainville?
I think went back around the 1st of February to Guadalcanal.
Okay.
And then all of our Christmas packages were back there waiting on us, you know. And then, so we weren't back on Guadalcanal too much longer. We still did some maneuvering back there. Well, it would have been too, because we left Guadalcanal to go to Guam, and we didn't hit Guam until, I think it was June or July.
Yeah.
It's on that thing up there. But the thing my son made, he's got the dates on there. But so we were probably back on Guadalcanal for another 2 or 3 months, still doing maneuvers. And then we took off. Well, you know, you never know where you're going. They don't tell you where you're going until after you get aboard ship. So then they say, okay, we're going to Guam. And this time I was lucky again. Some of my guys, they tell me, I got together later, you know, in later years. Whoa, we were on an old dumpy ship, boy. I mean, it was sound like it's something they used to haul cows on or something or other. But I got on a Coast Guard ship going to Guam, USS Wharton.
Okay.
And it was a nice sized ship, and the weather was good. We were on board the ship for about 54 days without getting off. And the weather was good all the time. It was a Coast Guard.
Yeah.
When a Marine was on a Coast Guard ship, we don't do nothing but read books and play cards and eat and sleep. When you're on a Navy ship, the Marines have to clean the head and swab the decks, all that stuff. Because the Navy, they
stand guard.
Yeah. So anyhow, it was a real nice trip. I enjoyed that, and they had about a 15, 16-piece band come out on deck every noon and play for an hour. Oh yeah, a real nice band. And I read on that voyage. I read what's the one Clark Gable film?
Gone with the Wind?
Yeah, Gone with the Wind. Read Gone with the Wind on there. So then we floated around for a while because I think it was the 4th Division that hit Saipan and Taiwan, Saipan, and they thought maybe they needed help, so we floated around to see if they needed us. Then they decided they didn't, so then we went back to, I think, some other island, and they let us off for about an hour just to run around on the beach, to get our legs back. And we got new supplies, gas and food and everything. And then we went back and then went to Guam. And then.
Okay, now, I don't know much at all about the invasion of Guam.
Well, the night before, I can't remember whether we were just off the coast or not. I can't remember whether we'd see the island the night before or not. But I saw a lot of flashes in the distance, but I don't know whether it was lightning or
Gunfire?
Naval fire. I don't know. It might have been a big fight that the Navy had. I don't know for sure. But I remember the morning we went ashore. Why, it was a nice clear morning, and the sea wasn't too rough. Sometimes you have a problem getting down the ladder into the landing craft, And on Iwo, we did lose a few, I guess. 2 or 3 guys got caught between the boats or something or other. But I saw my first dead American on Guam. I mean, just as I was getting up to close to the beach, and then they drop the lid down, you got to run off into the water and get on. And there was a young red-headed Marine laying there, face down in the water, right on the edge of the beach. That was my first American I saw killed.
It had quite an impact on you.
Yeah, and I never saw hardly any Japs because I never had to pull the trigger on one.
Yeah.
But of course, I probably helped kill them by telephoning them back, telling them where to shoot. Anyhow, then one of the biggest things I remember about Guam was, I think it was maybe the second night, maybe the third night, we were on and I lost some of my good friends there, and a Marine, Lieutenant Brooks and Sullivan. Sullivan was one of our telephone guys, and they got killed in their foxhole. I don't know whether it was a grenade or a mortar or what it was, and that Lieutenant Brooks, he was a good-looking blonde guy. He had 2 pearl-handled pistols. I brought them with him when he came in, I guess. But he carried those pearl-handled pistols, and when they got hit, my sergeant had just passed away. He found out those pistols were gone. He went nuts. He was killing every Jap officer he could find trying to get those pistols. And he don't know it. I never did tell him, but one of my friends I shared a pup tent with him quite often. He was in the same foxhole or right there close. He was the telephone and the other guy was the radio. Those other 2 got killed and he didn't, but he freaked out. And he took off back to the beach and the sergeant yelled out, "Hey, come back here!" But he just took off. And I just found out a few years ago, he took those pearl-handled pistols. And I didn't tell my sergeant over in Pennsylvania because he would have went down there after him. I know he would have. But about the second or third night, I dug a foxhole on a hill, and it started raining. And I'm covered up, I had a poncho, you know, and I'm covered up with that poncho. My foxhole finally gets full of water, so I just get so mad, I just get out and lay on the side of it. Next morning, you're all wrinkled up and red, you know. But then, things went pretty well on Guam. I got a few souvenirs on Guam, but I didn't get any at all on Bougainville. I didn't get any after Guam, because on Guam I got, you know, little things, and like a picture of a Jap. I'd like to know who to give it to, but, and...
was that one that you found that maybe it had belonged to the Japanese?
Yeah, I found it on the ground, and if I knew how to read what's on the back, you know, maybe I could do something with it, but I don't know anybody that speaks Japanese, but anyhow, also, we got in, a couple of us guys got in a cave, and they had a whole bunch of crated sniper rifles, 25 caliber sniper rifles, big long ones, you know. We got one of those. I took one, and at that time we were carrying little, I think they called them rising guns, a little one you would strap over your shoulder. We didn't carry much of a weapon because, you know, we were busy carrying wire and phones and everything else, and we depended on the other guys to protect us. But anyhow, I got this sniper rifle. I cleaned it all up, and it was all, you know, greased up and everything, but I cleaned it all up and put cosmetic all over it, and put it in a plastic bag and carried it around for 2 or 3 days. And then when we got relieved, they said, okay, well, let's turn all those souvenirs in. We'll check them and give them back to you. I never saw it again.
Never saw it.
So I said, that's the last time I'm getting a souvenir for some officer to hang on to, you know. So I didn't even look for souvenir, but I got some little like a little tag off of an airplane that was shot down, a Japanese plane, you know, and stuff like that.
Well, going in, did you get heavy resistance going in, or did they let you land and then they attacked you?
Wasn't real heavy on Guam, but Iwo was.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Iwo, 5 miles long, 2.5 miles wide. We had 3 divisions there, 3 Marine divisions. That's 60,000 men. Yeah. And then there was some Army artillery there. They might have come a little later, but the Japanese had been there for so long. They had caves dug they were dug with picks. You would think they were dug, you know, with blades or something. They were so smooth, but when you look close, they're dug with picks, you know. Yeah. But they had caves 3 layers deep, caves beneath the cave, you know. Huh. And then they had caves where they had a big artillery pieces they could pull out of these caves, you know, and shoot and then pull them back in. And they'd been there so long that they knew they didn't have to zero in. They knew just how to set that thing to hit any place they wanted it, you know. And so they waited till you hit the beach, and then they just mowed them down on the beach. They complain about losing, you know, what, 13,000 or 1,300 people over in Iraq so far. We lost 6,000 first day on Iwo, you know. Yeah. So, I don't know.
How long did it actually take to subdue Guam? Was it a pretty easy...
I can't remember. It seemed like maybe a month. I don't think it was a month. I think we were sweeping down about the third week. I think we were spread out and just sweeping clear up to the end of it.
That's pretty quick.
Now Iwo, when they said on board ship, they brief you, you know. Well, it's 2.5 miles wide and 5 miles long, so it's probably taken 3 days. Well, I think it still took 17 days for that, you know, something like that. I don't know for sure, but it's never as easy as it looks. And they had bombed, the Navy and the Air Corps had bombed Iwo for 3 months. There wasn't a green leaf on the island, you know. But those people were all in caves. You didn't really hurt them that much.
Wow. And when you went into Guam, did they shell the island pretty heavily before you went in?
I don't know how they did previous, but they shelled it that morning before we went in. Shelled it pretty good, yeah. What had been done before that, I don't know. But I was glad to go to Guam because Guam had been ours before, and I wanted to get it back. I wanted to go to Wake Island. That was ours too. But, But and the people there were really nice. They were glad to have us back.
I'll bet.
Oh yeah. a lot of the guys, some of the guys have been back over to Iwo and Guam both, but that's too far and too expensive for me.
Yeah, it's funny. Guam has turned out to be one of those islands that still remains
Our friend.
our friend,
Yeah.
our base. It's an active base.
It's still our territory, I think.
Our territory. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we represent it.
Yeah.
Of all that stuff we took in the Pacific, it seemed like Guam is the one that sort of hung in there
Yeah.
and still is active and part of our
Yeah.
our sphere. You were on Guam and got the word to go. They didn't tell you you were going to Iwo Jima, but you were getting ready to go.
Yeah. After we'll sweep down on Guam, then we still get bombed at night. I remember one night I heard a bomber coming in, and by that time by the time of Guam, we were beginning to get control of the sea and the air both, And I remember one time a bomber came in there, and well, there must have been two of them because we had a night fighter plane. I forget what they call that now. But he had two of those guys in flames at the same time. He got two of them. He went, they put a big searchlight up there and hit him, and then that guy'd shoot him down.
Wow.
And we had movies, outdoor movies,
Yeah.
Of course, the guys operated them sometimes put the wrong reel on, but you see the end of the movie and then you see the beginning.
You've seen it before, so you might as well see it different.
Yeah, and I remember one time it was raining so hard, you have your poncho on, you have your pith helmet on, and you can't even hear what they're saying. It's raining so hard,
We interviewed a guy who worked in a movie theater before the war, and he had to change the reels on Gone with the Wind. He says, I knew every word in that movie. And it was a long movie.
Yeah.
So you'd only seen it, what, 27 days in a row?
Oh, that would be boring, wouldn't it? But I never saw any USO. We never saw any USO shows there. I saw one. I think his Little Jack Little, I think was his name.
Okay.
And somebody was dancing on a piano with him. Now, I don't know whether it was Ray Bolger or who it was, but and I just happened to walk across them out in the jungle with a group of people. We didn't know he was going to be there,
I'll be there.
But that's the only one we ever saw.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the USO shows.
No, but we had one weekend in L.A. and we went to the U.S. Hollywood Canteen,
Yeah.
Saw a few movie stars there. Yeah. Had a ride with them. One movie star picked us up and took us the ride, four of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's that?
Mary Bryan.
Mary Bryan. Oh, yeah.
You remember her?
Heard of her.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she was in the old silent movies.
Okay.
And then she was one of the few that made it into the talkies. And that's four guys had gone to a NBC theater. You didn't have TV then, We went to the NBC studio to hear Dinah Shore give an hour program at noon. And we come out of there, and we were going back across the street to the Hollywood Canteen, and this car pulled up, some lady in it, and the oldest guy, he got in the front seat, opened the door and got in the front seat with her, and so the other three, we just crawled in the back seat, And she said, where are you guys going? We said, well, it was starting to rain,
Yeah.
We weren't just going across the street, but we'll go wherever you're going. So she took off, and the guy in front recognized her, and he says, you guys know who this is? And I thought, I was right behind her, so I couldn't see her face.
Yeah.
I says, is it Linda Darnell? And he says, no, it's Mary Bryan. And she was surprised that anybody even knew her, because she hadn't made any films here for a long time, and she had been over in Europe making films,
Yeah.
But she just finished one here, and we asked her if she could get us in the studio. She says, no, I just finished one at noon, and my contract's up, and I can't get in now. So,
Quit.
Oh. Well, now where did she take you?
well, she took us way out. I don't know whether it was Hollywood Boulevard or Sunset Avenue. I don't know what it was, but she took us way out through there. Oh, so and so lives here, and so lives here, and So she gets out there. Oh, probably about 4 or 5 miles, and she says, "Okay, this is where I turn." We says, "Thanks a lot." And we got out, went across the street. There come a little Packard from the other direction, and the woman stopped, picked us up, took us back downtown. I don't think I don't know whether one of the guys held his thumb up or not. I don't know, but
We wouldn't get that kind of service today, would we?
no.
Oh no. So you headed out for Iwo Jima.
Landing on Iwo Jima. I'll tell you.
First of all, how'd you get there? I mean, what kind of ship were you on going with?
Well, I don't know whether it was. I don't know what kind of ship it was. Tell you the truth.
Regular troop ship or?
Yeah, troop ship. And then of course, and the sea was rough. The morning we started to get land, we weren't there the first day. Somebody else was already been, part of our outfit was already there, but
okay.
But the gun sections and the communications crews hadn't gone ashore yet. So the sea was rough, and you had to be real careful when you came down the ropes to get into the landing craft, or you would get crushed, or you might drop 20 feet, or you had to let go at the right time.
Yeah.
And and so 5 minutes after I was in the landing craft, I was sick, and I vomited all day long. The sea was so rough, and the tide was out, and we couldn't get ashore because of the volcanic ash. Everything just sunk into it. So we rode around for about 8 hours, and I'm vomiting, dry heave all day long. I mean, I was so sore. And I wouldn't have cared if they threw me overboard. I mean, I wouldn't have cared. That's how sick I was. But then I went back aboard ship, and I went to sick bay, and because I couldn't eat, and the doctor gave me a shot of apricot brandy, and I went to bed. I must have slept pretty good, but next morning I get up and I started down to the galley to eat, and I smelled that bacon or sausage or whatever, and
that was it.
I just went back up on top of the ship again, and we got ashore that day. But boy, it took me 2 or 3 days to get my legs back, after being sick.
How did you land with that kind of heavy equipment? Did they find a better place to land, or they lay something down to?
No, there was only, I think there were 3 places they landed, but they were all the same, all volcanic ash,
Yeah.
But these Navy guys, they'd run us in and they'd drop a ramp down, and then you'd run off onto the beach, and the guys, of course, our 75 millimeters, the guys just pulled those, or sometimes they even take you could take them apart and carry a piece at a time and put them back together.
Okay.
The 75s, I don't think you could the big ones that way. But we had 75s all the time. Now, the 4th Battalion, we were 2nd Battalion. I know the 4th Battalion had 105s, which are bigger. And then the Army came in with some 155s, or bigger yet, But we hit the beach. I don't remember what time, and we couldn't move. We laid there all night long, And of course luckily didn't land any right there real close to us. Some of them went on out to sea, and so then the next morning we got up, and I don't know who was with me, or you do this with a bunch of guys, you don't know who they are, And some of my guys might have been right with me, I don't know, but I wound up with them eventually. But I remember getting up and going across that first airfield, and there was a few bodies laying around, and one captain, and I think maybe some guy here in Anderson told the same story. Said his captain got his head shot off or something or other. I remember going across that first airfield, there was a captain sitting in a foxhole, and his head was half shot off, Yeah. I don't know who that was. Somebody here in Anderson was telling that story.
Do you have any idea what his name was? Or?
No, I think maybe it was a guy that I went over to. There was a guy in Muncie that has a Iwo Jima reunion every year, and he's been having it over at Noblesville at that Lutz's Steakhouse.
Right.
And I went over, most of the time I'm in California with my daughter when he has that. I'm usually out there at Iwo Jima time. And I think maybe one of the guys was telling that over there. Somewhere I heard that, and I thought, well, it might have been the same guy, you know. But anyhow.
But we had taken the airfield at this point, the first airfield.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Iwo of a morning is just like, Sherlock Holmes, how the fog and everything.
Yeah.
That's the way it was, because that was a volcanic island, you know. You could dig down that far and put a can of beans in there and they heat up for you. You know, oh yeah.
Wow.
And it's cold. It's further north from where we'd always been for 2 or 3 years, and it was cold. And I remember, but you could dig down that far and lay down in there and get really warm, you know.
Yeah.
One night I got caught without my blanket. I don't know what happened, but I crawled over to a first aid tent and asked them if they had an extra blanket. Yeah, they gave me a big old white Navy blanket, you know. I still got it. But you get down in a little bitty hole and put a blanket over you and you're really warm.
Huh. Now, had they subdued Suribachi at that point?
No, let's see. I think I was on the second airfield, laying on my back. I happened to be looking back at Suribachi when they put that flag up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First one or the second?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Too far for me to tell.
Anybody cheer or anything when it went up?
Oh yeah, the guys all along there was cheering there. Yeah. Whoever saw it first yelled, you know, and then they all saw it.
It had to be a pretty special feeling, especially knowing all that fire was coming down from there on the beach.
Yeah, and then as we went along, it was really cheering to see the different aircraft come in, the fighter craft that we had, and the bombers and all that kind of stuff. You know, like P-47, I think it was. And each one come in with. Well, remember the P-38 was a big twin fuselage. Remember that one? I remember on Guadalcanal when those guys came back after being in a fight. Why, they'd come in, and if they had a kill, they'd zoom the airfield and go around once and then come back. You know.
Yeah.
Well, the two P-38s came in one morning or one afternoon. I don't know which, and. One of them came in and landed okay, and the other one was coming pretty slow. I knew he had a problem, you know.
Yeah.
And you could see he was shut up pretty good. And he come in and he almost got it landed. And I don't know where the wind caught him or what, but crashed it and burnt it in flames instantly. He couldn't have made it, you know. But then they came along with the P-47s, and of course they had bombs on them. They shoot or rockets. They shoot them right into those caves on Iwo.
Yeah.
That helped a lot.
Yeah, I just wondered how effective that was. I mean, could they
Well,
really get into the caves?
I'm
They
sure.
were
I'm
dug
sure.
in pretty deep.
I'm sure they got some, but most of them, the guys had to go in with flamethrowers.
Yeah.
They just had to burn them out.
Nothing else to get them away from the entrance to the cave so that you can get up to it.
Yeah, and then throw grenades in then. And
Yeah.
but like I say, nobody knew they had them 3 layers deep, you know, until afterwards.
Yeah.
They had some of their officers, you know, they'd be down there 3 layers deep. They'd commit suicide as soon as they found out that the end was near, you know.
Yeah. Now, the purpose of taking Iwo Jima, I've always heard, was that it was an emergency landing strip for all of the B-29s that were on the bombing runs.
Yeah, they take off from Guam and go to Tokyo or Japan, and then they didn't have enough gas to get back to Guam. So they wanted Iwo so they could stop there and refuel and then get back. So that was the main purpose of it.
Did you see that when that first B-29 landed?
Don't think so.
I know there was one that was shot up, and they had to make an emergency landing.
I don't remember that. I remember, I think the first B-29 I saw was on Guam.
Okay.
But I don't remember seeing a B-29 on Iwo.
Yeah.
We might have got relieved before he landed, I'm not sure. Because we weren't there the whole time. We got relieved, I think maybe a week or so before they secured the island. And then they sent us back to Guam again and then back to San Diego.
So, you were Were you up with the forward lines communicating back to the artillery, or were you behind the forward lines? I mean, what was your position?
Right behind them. We weren't. See, the infantry was forward lines,
Right.
and then the infantry would have forward observers with them, and then we would be right behind them. And then if their forward observers needed more fire, then they'd call us, and we'd send more fire up.
Okay.
The infantry, of course, they just had mortars, and that they fired, and then we had the artillery.
Okay.
Now, some of our forward observers were right with the infantry. I don't know that I was ever right with the infantry. I was with my captain for a while on Iwo, and why? He wasn't back at the battery position. Because I remember being with him, and we were somewhere up the line there, but we weren't right with the infantry. No.
Do you recall who your battalion commander was?
Pardon?
On Iwo Jima, your battalion commander, do you recall who he was?
Yeah, Captain, I just talked to him a couple days ago. Captain Robert Rennie, Captain Rennie from Dearborn, Michigan.
All right.
He was a graduate of DePaul down at Greencastle.
Oh, okay. Did you have a lot of trouble with snipers?
I think they did on Bougainville.
Okay.
That's the only place where they could hide, in the jungle. But some of them were up in trees, I guess. We didn't. One interesting thing on Bougainville, other than the earthquake, was I don't know. We hadn't been there. We didn't have our gun position set up too long. I think maybe 2 or 3 days, until one evening I'm standing there shaving. I dug a little hole and got some water, and I'm shaving,
Yeah.
and I heard this plane. There was no alarm. I heard this plane, and there it come. If I'd have had my rifle in my hand, I could have shot it down. But I'm shaving, and I looked up, and there's this big old red circle. New Zealand. Because New Zealand, and Australia, they had sort of looked like them. They had a big round circle too, but it wasn't red, And all of a sudden, that guy, there was 2 guys in it, one guy, a pilot, and then a guy behind him had a gun. Yeah. And he was shooting right through our area. And one guy was, you're a real hairy guy. He was all naked and all soaped up,
Yeah.
But he didn't hit anybody. They didn't hit anybody, but if I'd have had a rifle in my hand, I could have brought him down. But he's that close.
Low.
Oh, yeah. But, and then the next night, they bombed us. Right in our gun positions.
Mm.
So he was taking pictures. See.
Okay.
I could have been a hero if I'd had my rifle.
Did they have any kind of air resistance when you were on Guam? By that time, was it so subdued you just... And I wonder if they had any kamikazes.
We had, they tried to bomb us on Guam, and I think that's where that guy shot 2 down at the same time,
So, sort of a bed check Charlie, a guy, just a lone plane to come and drop a bomb, and that would be it, huh?
Yeah. No, by the time we got to Guam, we were in pretty good shape.
Yeah. Did they have any kamikazes operating around the Guam area? First I heard of them was around Leyte when they were taking the Philippines.
You mean where they ran into flew right into the ships?
Yeah.
I never saw any.
Okay.
I mean, of course, we weren't on the sea unless we were going from one island to the other. But
what was the greatest hazard for the guys in your area on Iwo Jima?
Do what?
The greatest hazard on Iwo Jima, did they have landmines or?
I don't know if they had.
Traps and whatever?
Nobody liked to move around at night, but the Japs would crawl around and throw grenades in. We lost some guys by throwing a grenade in the hole on them,
Yeah.
And but we had a ship or ships just offshore that fired flares. They had a flare in here in all night long. You know, it kept the sky pretty well lit all night long with a flare. And I can't remember when I crawled out to fix that wire. I don't remember whether it's a flare. It must have been, but I wasn't paying any attention to it then, you know.
Now,
Then,
was that on Iwo when you fixed that wire?
yeah, that was on Iwo.
Okay. Tell me the story of that.
Well, I was in this little foxhole with the radio sergeant, and my telephone line went dead. Because, see, we kept it open all night long. I'd whisper to the guys back at the switchboard, you know.
Yeah.
And the line went dead, but the tank had just went by, and of course I don't know whether it was our tank or theirs, but it had to be ours because I think it was going forward, you know.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I said, well, I think I know what the problem is, maybe I can fix it. So I crawled out and followed the wire till I came to the end of it, tied it around my pliers and stuck it in the sand, and then I crawled around, found the other end, and then come back and pigtailed them together, you know, and then crawled back in the hole. And he says, "Oh, that's a relief." So I know that he's the one that wrote me up. Now, and here's another thing. I think Roosevelt did the wrong thing here. He wrote a order or decree or whatever you call it. Anybody that was in the Battle of the Bulge got a Bronze Star, a real Bronze Star. Because I have a brother in Bunker Hill, and he wrote to St. Louis to see what medals he might be eligible for, and they sent him a Bronze Star. I said, "What'd you do?" He says, "I was in the Battle of the Bulge." I said, "Yeah, but what'd you do?" And he says, "I was just in the Battle of the Bulge." You know, he could have been Anyhow, so my sergeant, my wire sergeant that was trying to find those pistols,
Yeah.
he was killing every Jap he could find trying to get those pistols. And he was a big, burly ex-miner from Pennsylvania. And I saw him a few years after the war, and he says, "Did you get a Silver Star?" I said, "No, why?" He said, "Well, we wrote you up for one." I didn't know that. And then they wrote him up for a Navy Cross, and he got a Bronze Star. And so the Marines don't give medals out easily. You know, if you give your life to save somebody else, then you're going to get something. But they don't give them out. And I think Roosevelt, he cheapened the Bronze Star when he gave everybody that was in the Battle of the Bulge a Bronze Star just for being there. You know, I don't think that was a very good move, really.
Yeah. Now, I heard that anybody now who has a combat infantry badge can get a Bronze Star. They've been handing them out here recently to fellows who have the combat infantry badge.
Well, another thing they do, you know, you can make a corporal while you're still in boot camp anymore. Yeah. Just to, you know, if a guy's outstanding, they make him a corporal while he's still in boot camp.
Huh. Didn't give it to you, did they?
No, my two drill sergeants were corporals.
Huh.
Corporal Davis and Corporal Rockhold. As a matter of fact, Corporal Rockhold, I think I discovered later that he's from Lapel.
Huh.
But no, I haven't been able to get a hold of anybody who knows anything about him.
Oh, there.
And I didn't know it then. No, right after boot camp, and these two corporals asked me if I want to go on liberty with them. Of course, you don't have any liberty till you get out of boot camp, you know. Yeah. I guess. So I don't know why they asked me. I think they wanted me to talk me into staying there and being a rifle instructor, you know. I think that's what they wanted. But anyhow, so they'll drive around North Carolina, Goldsboro, and places like that. This one guy, he's driving with his feet, you know, scaring me to death. But I don't know why they asked me to go with them. We didn't do anything. We didn't go to tavern or anything.
Just driving around.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
One other thing on Iwo. One day, I don't know what they had, some kind of a rocket or something. Boy, that thing, it looked like a telephone pole going through the air, you know. It was so big they couldn't land it on the island. They was trying to hit some of the ships out there.
Yeah.
And that's another thing on Iwo. The morning that we woke up to land, man, you never saw so many ships in your life. That sea was full of ships.
Were you near any of the battleships?
No,
I heard that the Texas was there. I didn't know about any of the others.
I don't know what all was around there. I'm really not real familiar with what ship is what, you know, and so forth. But there was a mess of them there.
Of the fellows in service, did you have anybody that you could select as sort of a personal hero? It could be an individual person, or maybe a group of fellows like medics or what have you. Did anybody you kind of looked up to?
Yeah, well, there was 3 guys that I thought were the Marine. One of them was my wire sergeant, Andy Sable, and he died about a year ago. The other one was this guy, Cliff Cormier. He was the gunnery sergeant, in charge of all the guns.
Yeah.
And the other was Sergeant John Beck, who was another Alaska Marine with this guy.
Okay.
And he was just a good-looking guy, you know, and a tough Marine, you know. And he was from Peoria. Kickapoo. You ever know where Kickapoo is? Kickapoo?
Oh, yeah,
Kickapoo,
yeah.
just outside of Peoria.
Yeah.
And then there's another guy from Orchard Mines, which is right outside of Peoria, and another guy from Pekin, which is just outside of Peoria.
Huh.
So, anyhow, those 3 guys, I mean, they really look like Marines when they're dressed up, you know. And I always admired those guys.
So Iwo Jima was finally subdued. And how long did you stay on the island after it was finally?
Now we left before it was completed. We left probably maybe a week before it was declared secure, I think.
Okay.
I don't think very few Japs surrendered. Most of them were killed, I think. Some of them jumped over off of cliffs up at the what I call the north end was
Yeah.
big steep cliffs, you know. I guess some of them jumped off of there and they committed suicide or were killed one way or another.
Did you ever come across any Japanese communication lines?
No.
Any wires?
No. We started out carrying big, heavy, I don't know, drums about this big, you know, with heavy wire. And by the time we went, I think maybe even on Guam, we just had reels about that big with thin wire on it, you know. And it did the job, you know. You still keep communications, but boy, those big reels were heavy. You had to carry your pack and those and a couple phones and everything else. And of course, the guys that had to carry the switchboards, that was even worse. And the radios, you know.
Yeah. So we got off of Iwo Jima. Where did you go from there?
Went back to Guam, and we weren't there, I think, maybe 2 or 3 days, and they shipped us back to the States. And on the way back to the States, about halfway back, they announced that President Roosevelt had died. While we were down in the mess hall eating, they announced it, you know.
How'd you take that? I mean, were you a big Roosevelt fan, or?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I had been born and raised a Democrat, you know, but
Yeah.
I soon got away from that when I found out what was going on in the workplace.
Well, Roosevelt, he was darn near the only president you knew. I mean, most of your life he was the president.
Yeah, but you know, I always felt, now, a lot of Marines, they didn't like MacArthur, you know, but I always felt, hey, if MacArthur had been president at the end of the World War II, Russia and Japan, or Russia especially, would never got the foothold in that they got in, you know.
Yeah.
He wouldn't allowed that.
Yeah.
He would have never stopped and let them have half of Berlin. No way.
He'd have made Patton happy, because Patton didn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
What about the command structure? I mean, the higher ups that you reported to, you were under General Rocky at Iwo. Do you have any thoughts about those fellows and who was good and who wasn't so good?
Not really. I never, you know, got beyond captains. Mostly, you never got beyond sergeants.
Yeah.
But I was, you know, with captains now and then. The first night on Guam, I was with. I can't remember the name. Jim Leffers he was our commanding officer on Guam.
Okay.
Jim Leffers, and I was with him up on the first crest. We got up this first crest and set up. It seemed like we had a tent over us. I don't know how, but it was dark and we had a lantern there. I remember, and I had the phone and. Then, but the next day I'm off someplace else over on another hill someplace.
Yeah, you never really saw the battle. You just saw in your immediate vicinity.
Yeah,
whatever your job was that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. How we doing on minutes on this tape?
They're 14.
Okay.
I remember one time on Guam, Leffers, he took off that morning without his backpack, you know, so he didn't have his blanket. So he called back, it was after dark, and he says, "Tell Sable to send some boys up with the mail. These boys want their mail up here." Well, he just wanted new blankets, what he wanted. So Sable sent me and a couple other guys with a Jeep driver, and I don't know how the guy ever found them, but driving through the dark, no lights or anything, he couldn't put his lights on, you know.
Yeah.
But he found them up there, and we get back, and I said, "Hey, Andy," I says, "don't ever send me on anything like that again."
Running the risk of getting killed just
Yeah,
blanket.
just to give them the mail.
Dig a deeper hole.
Yeah.
If you want to get warm. Well, this might be a good time. Go ahead and get your list there, and go down through the names and tell me a little bit about each one.
Oh, Cliff.
The ones you can.
Cliff Cormier, he was the gunnery sergeant. And I started this reunion just with telephone guys and one radio guy. And the word started getting around. First thing you know, I got them from the mess hall. I got a gun section and truck drivers and everything else. We wound up with about 22 guys, you know.
Yeah.
And we met for, I think, about 14 years. First one was here. Mary cooked a meal for them, and they all stayed out the Holiday Inn. And some of them, most of them, there was about, I got a big video of that one. We got about 14 guys, you know, and most of them we hadn't seen for, I don't know, 30 years.
Yeah.
But she had a big meal, and then we had a party out in the garage and videoed the whole thing. My son videoed it for us. And so we just kept on going. Everybody having a good time, you know. And Cormier was a gunnery sergeant. Donnie he was in the gun section. And Fisher, I never really knew him. I think he was in the gun section too. He's dead now. And Guard he was a telephone guy from Texas. He's a guy who got the pearl handle pistols. And John Hicks lives in Georgia. He was in the Fire Direction Center. And Bob Keys, he worked as a cook part of the time, then part of the time he was carrying wire for us, or phones or whatever we needed. And Henry Klimp was a gun section, Crawl was a gun section, and Jim Leffers was our captain, on Guam, and he's dead now. And Freddie Leggett, he was a telephone guy. Sid Luna was a gun section. There was only two guys in the gun sections I really palled around with while we were in the service. Sid Luna was one of them, and a guy up in Maine was the other. And but these other guys all, you know, moved in. McBride up in Michigan, he was worked in the galley part of the time, and then he was helped us on the carry wire and stuff. And George McClellan over in Vanderbilt, Pennsylvania he was the radio sergeant. I talked to his wife yesterday because the 21st I talked to him. That was his birthday was the 22nd, and he says, "Well, I've been in a hospital. I've had the flu. And I talked to his wife a few minutes later. She says, no, it isn't the flu. He just isn't, he's, about gone.
Yeah.
So then I talked to his daughter. She was there, and she's moving him. She said she's moving him to out by Washington, D.C. And I said, well, where at? I said, we're going to come out there in August. She says, well, look us up. She says, because I'm going to take him in the next week or so. So she gave me her name and address, and I looked it up on the map, so we're going to stop and see him. I hope he's still alive by then.
Yeah.
And Murphy was, he was a driver. Newbar was a gun section. Peters was a driver. Sealback helped us carry wire. And Saddam was a telephone guy, and Talmadge was a radio guy, and the rest of them are all just wives now. The guys have died. There was something I wanted to... we had one driver, Mike Nazarick, and when we got relieved from the front lines on Guam, Iwo, Andy Sable, my wire sergeant, he said, well, we'll march back. And somebody says, no, there's a truck coming up with our relief, So here comes Nazarick with the truck, and we all got on that truck, and Nazarick was driving, and right next to him was whoever was in charge, and then Sable's sitting right here, and there was no seat, so I'm standing on the running board with my arm around Sable and one arm around the other guy, and the driver started up, and a mortar exploded somewhere, and Andy says, stop! No, go on! I looked at him, he's turning white. I said, what's the matter? And I looked down, he had pinpoints blood on his, right in here,
Huh.
How it hit him, didn't hit me, didn't hit anybody else on the truck. I have no idea.
Over there.
Somebody's watching.
I reckon.
So anyhow, and this guy was telling me he was on that truck too. I didn't realize he was on there. But Nazarick then came back, and I read in the paper where he's the Eastern Dirt Track champion, and he was from Pennsylvania. No, I forget where he was from. New Jersey, I think. Anyhow, a couple of years later, he's down at Indianapolis in the 500. So I go down to see him, He raced, first time he raced down there, he came in second.
Did he really?
1953.
I'll be going.
He said they had to pry his hands off the wheels. Back then it went about 5 or 6 hours.
Oh yeah.
So that's one of the, when I had my reunions here, that's one of the trips I took to the guys. I took whoever wanted to go. I took them down to Indianapolis around the speedway, and they got pictures of Mike in his car and all that kind of stuff.
That's pretty neat.
But a couple of years later, he got killed out at Langhorne, Pennsylvania. So I haven't been to a race since then. I kind of lost interest. And my brother, he used to build cars and race them up at Kokomo, cars like they race out here at the track.
Right.
We've been here 35 years. I've only been out here at this track once, and that's when my brother came down and took me out.
You're not missing too much.
No, I don't. Those guys, they throw dirt up on top of you, and stuff like that. So
Yeah, it's pretty dusty.
Is this a dirt track out here still?
No,
No,
Is it blacktop?
it's paved, but it still throws dirt.
I was down at Indianapolis, across the street from the speedway. They had a track there at one time.
Yeah.
And I think it was Johnny Parsons blew a tire and threw that up on us. Man, that thing was hot. Ooh. We could feel it. It didn't hit us, but it was right up there where we could feel it.
Huh. Yeah, it's lots. Even as dangerous as it is now, it's still safer than what it was then.
Oh yeah, they've got those cars built so you can roll over in them, and
Yeah. And that's amazing because they go so much faster. You think it'd be more dangerous.
Yeah. And a lot of those safety things come into the passenger cars that we drive now.
Yeah, we interviewed a guy in Cicero that used to do some work for Champion Spark Plug, and he said he suggested to him one time, well, why don't you put a wing on the back of that and get some downforce, and that would hold you on the track a little better. And he said, oh, that's a crazy idea. And now they all have them.
Yeah.
He'd been a pilot over in Burma. So you were midway back to the United States when you heard that Roosevelt died.
Mm-hmm.
You were coming back to, what, San Diego?
San Diego. Some of them came in up in Washington, some came to San Francisco, but we came back to San Diego where we went out, and it was nice to see the people on us, up there waving at us and yelling and cheering. And then our first thing I remember there, man, we had fresh fruit on the table, fresh milk and fried chicken. Hadn't seen that for a while.
Yeah, milk was a big item.
Oh yeah, I think we had powdered milk over there, but I can't really remember. Coffee, I never drank coffee. It was always boiling hot. I used it to wash my mess gear with, but I just never wash it out with coffee and then take some sand and rub it out real good,
Yeah. So, were you stationed in San Diego for a while, or?
No, we were there. Oh, I don't know. I know it was less than a week, probably 2 or 3 days, and then they shipped us back towards. Well, they gave us on a 30-day furlough. So, and I was going to Annapolis, Maryland, Naval Academy, and so I came home for 30 days and had a nice time, and then went out there, and I remember I don't know. My mind went blank in there somewhere. I don't even remember going to Indianapolis, getting on a train. But first thing I remember, I'm in Cincinnati, and 4 of my buddies from the Detroit area are getting on a train in Cincinnati. So then I asked one of them, "Where are you going?" They says, "Solomon Islands. Can you beat that? We just came from the Solomon Islands. Guadalcanal was Solomon Island. There's a Solomon Island just south of Washington, D.C., along in there in the bay there somewhere,
Oh.
So they were going there. And I went to the Naval Academy and did guard duty for probably a month or so. And one of the posts was the Admiral's house. That was post number 1. You had a little shanty out on his porch, and you had to, if dignitaries come, you had to go out and open the door for them and salute them, and this kind of stuff. And if it rained, you had to go cover up his lawn furniture and take his dog for a walk and stuff like that. So I did guard duty 2 or 3 places there, and then 2 or 3 posts. And then I reported sick bay one day. I had reported sick bay, I think, on Guam. I told the doctor, I says, "I just feel like I'm in a daze all the time, And he says, "Well, you didn't look like it when you was playing basketball yesterday." Because they built a basketball court there, and a bunch of guys in my outfit, we played a bunch of officers that graduated from Southern Cal and places like that, we beat them,
Well, you're a Hoosier. A Hoosier can play when he's half dead.
Yeah, I guess. Well, they weren't, I was probably the only Hoosier.
Okay.
But anyhow, so I got the feeling the same way back here. If I'm doing something, if I'm playing softball or doing something, I'm okay. But if I'm not doing something, I just feel like I'm in a daze. So they put me in a hospital, and I was in the hospital for probably 3 months there, and just group sessions, talking. I guess they didn't say, but I guess that's what they call combat fatigue or something like that. Because you go so many days and nights without hardly any sleep. And I still feel that way lots of times. But anyhow. But, we had group sessions, and we'd talk, and then we'd have the afternoon off, and we'd go out and play softball or go down along the pier and look at the jellyfish and stuff like that. And they give us tickets to the football games, Navy football games. But one day they said, "Hey, the Admiral wants to see you." And I can't remember now whether I went to his house or whether he has an office someplace else. I don't remember.
We probably ought to stop there. Let's stop there. This is 050017 tape 4. 4, okay. And this covered bridge at Bridgeton, where your mom was born, or where your mom came from. Just recently has been burned by an arsonist, and they're getting ready to rebuild it again. They're going to go ahead and rebuild it, which is a good thing. That's a beautiful spot there, and very, very picturesque. Until I get it rebuilt, this is what you're going to see of it. And this is your big old high school graduating class. Was pretty tough looking characters in that class. And you say you're on the far left?
Well, the far right in the picture.
Okay, okay. Yeah, can you still name any of them?
Oh yeah.
How many you got there?
I think there's probably only about 3 of them still alive.
All right, that's good. Now this is your boot camp
Mm-hmm.
graduation.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know where you are in this picture?
Yeah, I think so. I'll have to look. Let me see.
Okay. It's going to... You can watch the monitor and see what he's zooming in on.
Oh.
Yeah, let's go up here.
Yeah, I'm right above your finger there.
Okay. Right above?
Mm-hmm. Right there.
Right there?
Yeah, right there. Mm-hmm.
That's as close as I can get.
Yeah. And you can get the writing too, so got the names. Can you name every one of these guys?
No. I
Okay, now go.
It's Farron Embler, the guy that talked you into joining the Marine Corps from Kokomo.
As close as I can get.
Mentioned him earlier. Okay, that's good. And what's the story on this? Say your son made this for you? Or?
Mm-hmm. And down at the bottom, he's got all of the dates of the campaigns. Well, I don't think he has the dates. I think he just got the days.
Yeah. It's a nice piece of work.
$406-141.
That's my serial number. Yeah, he does that kind of stuff down at Fort Benjamin.
Okay. I didn't think they had any serial numbers that short.
Well,
Now you may have
Do
to
I
bring
need to
that one up
closer?
to me. Because that's going to be...
oh, that's that. Yeah, yeah.
Will you quit moving and let me find you?
All right. Well, I can move it easier than you can move it.
No, you can't.
I can see what the heck I'm doing too. Wow. That blows it up a little bit.
Yeah.
If I can hold it steady.
You're fine. If you're fine, if you just
Okay.
quit moving side to side.
And we'll do the writing. I don't know what good it'll do, but at least we'll have it recorded.
Yeah, I had quite a few souvenirs on. I had, I don't know, a Japanese hat and a cap and toothbrushes and pencils and games and.
Huh.
You know, I just had a thought.
Sorry, I had to lose my balance here.
If you take that with you when you go to Washington,
Yeah,
the
good.
Japanese embassy, they might be able to.
We might. Okay.
No, I had the VCR running and this one didn't.
Oh, okay.
So hang on here. This is the writing on the back of the picture.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, now this is when you went to the Admiral's house in Annapolis?
Yeah, at the Admiral's headquarters.
Okay. And Admiral, do you recall his name?
Aubrey Fitch, Commander Aubrey Fitch.
Oh, okay.
Vice Admiral Aubrey Fitch.
Where have we come across that name?
I don't know, we've come across it somewhere.
Yeah, that sounds very, very familiar to me.
Okay, let's get a real good.
You know, when they said that you got to go over to Admiral's house, you know, or
Yeah.
office or whatever, I thought, boy, what I do now? I must have did something to his dog or didn't get his furniture covered or something or other, you know.
And instead of getting chewed out for leaving his lawn furniture uncovered, he gave you a citation. But that was a surprise.
Yeah, it was.
Now let me come in here.
And this was the citation you got for putting the crawling out and putting the wire back together?
That's what I assume. I don't know what else. I didn't do anything else that anybody else didn't do.
Sure it's not just for best looking Marine or something?
No, couldn't have been that.
Pretty handsome fella according to that picture we just saw.
Oh, that's nice.
Want a Kleenex or something?
I'll get it here in a minute. Okay. Camera, what's that?
All right, now this was on Guam. It was a leaflet that you were dropping to the Japanese to get them to surrender.
Mm-hmm.
Probably didn't get too many takers, did you?
You know, I don't remember. There wasn't the only prisoner actually saw was on Guam, but it was before we dropped these leaflets.
For the Japanese and/or Marines who didn't speak English, we had the Japanese version on the back side. Never have figured out that part why we can't all speak the same language.
No, I think the way it's going now, we're all going to have to start speaking Spanish.
Yeah, pretty much. You can read this, you are too smart. Well, these are the kind of telegrams you don't mind getting back home. Now, what was the time frame here? You was this before you went to Annapolis?
Yeah, when
Okay.
I first got to San Diego.
Okay. All right. I bet that made the family happy. Okay, this is the only picture that you know of that where all the kids are together.
Mm-hmm.
All your brothers and sisters. Including a couple that weren't there, they got superimposed later on, but did pretty nice work, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Now the girl in the front with the white, she's dead now. And the only two living is the guy right behind there in the center and me. Well, and that girl there, she's still alive. The rest of them are gone.
Had quite a crew.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now.
Okay, that's your best buddy, Joe Petrus
Mm-hmm.
from Kokomo.
At one time he lived there.
Yeah. It's not standard issue uniform, is it?
No.
And you say this was taken on Guadalcanal?
Mm-hmm. On a ship offshore.
I know what that is. Tell me the story about that.
Oh, that's the International Dateline. Equator, isn't it?
Yeah, the equator. You have shellback ceremony?
You know, I don't remember too much about that.
Oh, really?
I think they gave me one going and one coming, but I can't remember too much about it.
Now, who's this? I can't see very well.
That's me.
That's you?
Mhm.
Now, is this you?
Yeah.
Tell me about the mustache. There's got to be a story there.
Oh, well, I just experimented with it there for a little while. That's the first time I ever, of course you had a beard when you couldn't shave for days, but that's the first time I ever grew a mustache. And but then in the last 10 years or so, I have had a mustache now and then. My wife and daughter, they both like it. But the last time I had it, I got tired of it and I shaved it off and they didn't even notice it, so I just left it off.
And this is?
Good clean shaven version of the same thing.
Yeah. 24 years old at the time, probably.
This, well, we had a little bit of exhibition early on in the tape of your musical prowess. Here's the big band that you hang around with.
Well, I did. Kenny, the piano player, he died, so we just don't do much anymore.
Okay, Kenny, what's his last name?
Kenny Rutherford. We were called the Sunshine Boys.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. He had cancer for about 7 years before he passed away. This was taken up on the stage at the Paramount Theater.
Okay. Who got on the guitar there?
Mac Sanders.
Mac Sanders.
Yeah, he lives out in west end of town.
Just go.
I want to say not Westwood, but
Yeah.
I went by that too quick. Need to come back here and get a good shot out.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they were that bad. Sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah.
Okay, now you can tell the story.
Okay. Now, what story here now?
Oh, my son called on Father's Day. He says, I'm going to be late getting there. I got a snake in the house and I don't want to take my eye off of it because it'll hide someplace and I don't know where it is. Says, I think it came through the attic. He's left all kind of telltale signs where he come down and knocked the thing off the wall phone he had there, And so the cops came out and somebody called 911. The cops went out and one guy acted like he was afraid of it, and so they says, well, you got a gun? He says, I got a pellet gun, a BB gun. He says, well, get that and try it. So he shot him about 3 or 4 times and killed him. 5-foot black snake.
Gee whiz.
They said it was a black snake, but it had markings on it, like a moccasin, but
There you go.
Okay, sometime they dropped a big old bomb on Japan. Where were you when you heard about that one?
I was in the hospital at
Okay.
Annapolis.
Okay.
And of course, while everybody's dancing in the streets, I'm still there,
You missed the big dance.
Yeah,
huh?
I did. Yeah.
Darn. Oh. Now, was there any talk of you guys going back in for the invasion of the homeland?
Well, that was what everybody was thinking, was it'd take about everybody and just swarm over, because that would have been that atomic bomb saved a lot more lives than it cost.
Yeah.
Because there would have been a lot of lives lost if that hadn't happened on both sides.
Well, you probably got a good taste of that on Iwo Jima, and
Oh yeah.
especially when you saw them committing suicide like they did.
Yeah.
So, war was over.
War was over, and I'm back home, and I get discharged, and I think they give me $84 to get home on, or something rather like that.
Now, when did you actually discharge? While you were still there at Annapolis?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
I can't remember. Some Army or some Marine captain, but I don't remember where somewhere where he was stationed there.
So the war ended in August of '45. So, what's your time frame for getting discharged? Was it just within a month, or you were there for another 6 months, or?
I think I was discharged in like October, I think.
Okay. So it wasn't just right away.
See, I enlisted, so I was for 4 years.
Okay.
But since the war was open, they decided to go ahead and let me out early,
All right.
Because I figured it's going to take 4 years anyhow, so I enlisted for 4. And then I didn't want to be in reserves anyhow, because although now sometimes I wish I'd stayed in reserves, But so I go back home, and of course, after all that, the main thing I want to do is meet a nice girl and get married and have a family, and play basketball someplace. So I go home and I met a couple friends in church, and I'm going to church by myself, and we decided to form a basketball league, which we did there in Kokomo. So I managed that for 3 or 4 years, or longer than that really, and then I had a team for several years that even after we quit playing in the league, we get together once a week and play, 10 guys, just get 10 guys and play around. And met Mary, she's a real nice gal, and we got married. And,
okay, give me a last name here. Mary?
Mary Jacobs was her name.
Okay, and you met her in Kokomo.
Yeah, and she didn't have to change her initials, and I was still Mammy J,
That's probably the only reason she married.
Yeah, probably. And so then, I worked at Bell, and we had softball teams and basketball teams, and we played all we could. And
well, tell me a little bit about Mary. How was it you met her?
Met her at she tells it a little different. She says her and 2 other girls were getting off the bus one day, and I was walking down the street whistling. She said, "Boy, I'd like to date that guy." That's what she says. But first time I remember seeing her was one of the girls that I knew before the war.
Yeah.
Her dad had a grocery store, and she was having a party out to her house they had a bunch of girls there and a bunch of kids home from the service, and that's where I met her at first. We played spin the milk bottle and post office and that kind of stuff, And
you owe an awful lot to the neighborhood grocer, don't you?
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Funny thing is, there was another grocer right across the street. Both of them neighborhood grocers, family owned, but they stayed there for years.
Huh.
So then we got married. And
how long did you date before you got married? Was it short, long?
About 1.5 years, I think.
Okay.
And then we got married where I had been going to church and formed a basketball team with Southside Christian in Kokomo.
Okay.
But a lot of the guys I worked with and ran around with were Methodists, so we after we came home from our honeymoon, we went to the Methodist church.
Yeah.
And been in Methodist ever since. And
where'd you go on your honeymoon?
Well, we went to I had an old 36 Ford V8 that I bought off my brother.
Okay.
And we went to Niagara Falls. Oh. And of course, back then they didn't have hotels. They just had little cabins, and some rooming houses and stuff like that. We wound up in a rooming house, couldn't get a cabin. And then we went to Pittsburgh and stopped and seen one of my buddies. And then we went on to Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania, and stopped and seen another buddy. And I took her around to see some of my buddies,
Well, that doesn't sound very romantic.
But then we came home and I had a job and she had a job. She was timekeeper at Continental Steel and I was working with Indiana Bell. We had probably maybe $1.50 when we got home, but we both had a job and a paycheck coming, see. So we did, and we had an apartment. I had bought a house when I first got home. I bought the house that my parents had been living in because they separated at that time, and my mom took my youngest brother and went down to Bridgeton to take care of her dad, who was up in almost 90, So I bought the house they were living in, and but I rented it out to my cousin. Well, I rented to him and lived with him, paid him rent until we got married, and then we moved into an apartment.
Okay.
And then, so then when Mary became pregnant for our daughter, I told my cousin, well, we need more room now. We just had a little one room where you pull a bed down out of the wall. So he built him a house, and we moved into that house, and lived there until our son was born, and then I took him. We moved, bought a new house over on North Indiana, and 3-bedroom, and lived there until we moved to Anderson. In 1965, we moved to Anderson.
Now,
With Indiana.
how many children and their names, a little something about each one?
Jeff, we have a son, Jeff, and a daughter, Susan. She lives in California, works for, they both graduated from Madison Heights. And Sue worked for United Way. Well, she worked for FEMA for a while, and then she worked for the Red Cross up in Chicago, and then she transferred to California with Red Cross. And then while working with the Red Cross, she got involved with United Way, and they both wanted her, so she was half and half, paying salary from half from one, half from the other, and doing two things. So then she finally went with United Way full time and became a vice president of Orange County, United Way. And then she was putting in so many hours, we would be in bed when she went to work of a morning, and we'd be in bed when she came home at night. So we only saw her on weekends, you know.
Wow.
So she finally got tired, and she said, I think I'll look for something else. And somebody that she'd made connections with says, hey, there's a job open down to college. She went down and put her application into the Saddleback College for a fundraiser. What do they call them?
Yeah, grant writer.
Foundation director, I think they call
Okay.
it. So then that she loved the campus atmosphere and everything, but with the politicians and the union and fighting, California is terrible.
Yeah.
As Arnie will tell you right now, you know. And anyhow, she got tired of that. She put them on their feet. They'd been doing nothing, you know. I mean, the woman that had been running it was just a employee of the college, and she had checks. People had given her checks a year and two before. She'd had them in a drawer, didn't even cash them, didn't send notes of thanks or anything. See,
wow.
So she got all that caught up, and people that she knew from United Way. Well, a guy was with a steel company out of Kalamazoo, Michigan, and he gave her a bunch of furniture, you know. So Huggins downtown, they get furniture from this company. I forget the name of it, but anyhow, she had that place all fixed up real good. But this woman that has this property management firm, residential property management firm, said, say, would you be interested in working for us? And Sue says, well, you know, it's kind of interesting. I've been thinking about changing. But she says, I don't think he can afford me now. They just give me a raise to what they said they'd give me originally. And the woman said, oh, we can afford you. So she went with them, and now she's the vice president of that in community affairs, you know. And she's working 12 hours a day now. She called last night. They come in and build a big addition, a big whole new town, really, little town,
right.
In a year's time almost. And so then they get her outfit gets contracts with them to take care of all of the outside maintenance, you know. And so, but Sue's in the area where she plans parties for them. And so, you know, she's got about 4 towns now that got to plan 4th of July parties for her. She's working 12 hours a day now.
Oh my.
So anyhow, and Jeff, he works for Fort Benjamin Harrison for the Army payroll center, you know. He had about 15 years in with Guide Lamp. They both got college degrees. Sue's got a master's, and they both graduated from Ball State. But Jeff worked at Guide Lamp, well, Delco, and then Guide Lamp. He was working Guide Lamp last. But he likes to work with his hands. He likes to do things, you know.
Yeah.
He's an artist. He can paint a picture, he can draw a picture with chalk look just like you. But he don't do that. He just does just computer stuff now.
Right.
But anyhow, he had about 15 years in with General Motors, and he went to night school here to try to take extra courses. He wanted to get into skilled trades, where pattern making or mold making or something or other. And he was number one on the list to get called, and so he'd get laid off, and then he'd go down to Fort and work part-time, and then finally he went up and they says, well, how long is it going to be before you call me? Well, you're number 8 on the list now. What do you mean, number 8 on the list? I was number 1. Well, you're the wrong section, wrong color, you know. So
Oh boy.
he gave up and just went with, he was out of work for about 3 years, but he built him a garage and remodeled his house and helped other people roofing and whatever, you know. And he plays music. He's got a one-man band. You can see the long hair. The mom don't like that at all, but he's a one-man band.
So, how long have you and Mary been married now?
Let's see. What is this? This is 24th. 5 more days, it'll be 58 years.
58 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it'll probably take after a while.
I was 27 and she was 20 when we got married. I was 26 and she was 20 when we got married. We got married in June and I was 27 then in September.
What would you tell folks about her?
Pardon?
What would you tell folks about her?
Well, it's great, but you got to work at it, you know.
Yeah.
My daughter's never been married. She just never finds anybody that she thinks she could, or maybe they can't live with her, I don't know.
She didn't have time to get married.
But she's 50, she'll be 55 in December.
Yeah.
And Jeff, he was married for 14 years, had those 2 nice boys, and that didn't last. And so he finally got married again, and that didn't last. They found out she was, well, you know, playing music in these taverns, you don't meet the right kind of people, you know.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that didn't last, and so he's by himself and killing snakes and stuff like that.
Sometimes that's safer than being married.
Yeah. And the youngest boy just graduated from high school, Pendleton Heights. The oldest one is 20. I think he'll be 27 in September, same as mine. And he works for a property management firm in Annapolis, but it's commercial property management. He worked for about 4 summers. He went out during summer vacation and stayed with my daughter, and she got him jobs at different places out there, you know. Sometimes with the city as a lifeguard at the pool, and sometimes in charge of the pool, and one time with Cox Communications, which is a big cable and telephone communications outfit out there, and then he helped her some on her job with property management, so he got this job down here, and it seems to be a pretty good job.
You got a nice family, a nice home.
Yeah, and the boy, the youngest one, he says he's going to Butler and be a doctor of pharmacy.
Oh, okay.
Whatever that doctor of pharmacy does, I don't know, but that's his ambition. But I guess it takes 6 years to do it. And it's the most expensive school in the state by a long shot.
I have a cousin that went through that, and it was tough.
Really?
It was tough, but it's paid him, served him well in life.
Well, so he wasn't a pharmacist. He was a doctor of pharmacy, huh?
Now he wound up becoming a pharmacist, but he originally went that direction.
Well, he says, I'm not going to be a pharmacist. I'm going to be a doctor of pharmacy. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I says, he thinks he's going to get out and get a real good job, making $75,000 a year, so not have to work very hard. And I said, you better talk to some of these guys I know, because they don't they don't get it that way. Anyhow, so yeah, we've been lucky. We not always approved everything that happens, but you know, by a long shot, 2 weeks ago, the oldest one, we bought him a bass boat. He's just building a new house now down around Music Center, Verizon Music Center.
Okay.
And he bought him a boat, and a ski boat. So he and my daughter in California, they get together all the time talking. They rented a houseboat down on Lake Cumberland for the whole family, and so we went down there for I think it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 days and 5 nights, and had a nice time. We didn't do much fishing, but they just wanted to ski and tube and do that kind of stuff, you know. And
You didn't get seasick, did you?
nope, didn't get seasick.
Not that-
but I'll tell you, never been on a houseboat before.
Yeah.
The guy showed us how to drive the thing, and he says, he took us out to the no wake zone. He says, okay, it's yours. We wasn't out there a half hour. I saw lightning over in the distance. I mean, a gust of wind hit. It must have been 50, 60 mile an hour at least.
Yeah.
It blowed. We had a lawn chair on the front deck, and it just disappeared into the lake, you know. And they had a big round table with a heavy table with a I think it was plexiglass top. Threw that up against a rail, broke it, and the instructions said don't rev up over 3,500 RPM because for some reason or other. Well, so I'm afraid to do that, and I'm trying to fight that wind to get into a cove. It took me 40 minutes to get into. We were right in front of that cove. It took me 40 minutes to get in there.
Wow.
Then the boys are trying to tie it up on a bank, you know, and the banks are rocky and slippery, you know, when they're wet, and they just all slipped off into the ocean, into the lake, and we finally got it tied up. And the next day we went over into a different cove. It was calmed down by then. We went over in a different cove where we were 2 nice trees where we could go right straight in and tie up, and which is the way you're supposed to do it. So we had a good time. We didn't go hardly any on that houseboat. We just tied it up and left it. You know, it's cheaper than going to a motel anyhow. So. Time we all pitched in, you know.
Well, you've done a lot of interesting things in your life.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I told my wife one thing we're going to do when we got married. I says we're going to take a vacation, and we're going to eat. You know, I mean, we don't go to restaurants a whole lot, and we don't buy T-bone steaks. You know, we don't.
Yeah.
You got to have welfare stamps to do that. Seems like. But anyhow. So we've always taken vacation. 1 year in the 35 years I worked for Indiana Bill, I didn't take a vacation. They said, you don't have to this year. We got a lot of work to do. You don't, but otherwise they made you take your vacation, which I enjoyed, you know. So yeah, we've been to California, Mexico, and my kids have been all over the Northeast and Southwest, but not in the Northwest, and they've been to Florida and Georgia. Everything but Northwest they'd been in while they were still in school. Teacher would ask questions, you know, about certain places, and my daughter hold up her hand, yeah, I've been there. She says, is there any place you haven't been? So we always took vacations.
Yeah. There's good education in that. There really is.
Yeah, yeah.
You see different people in different places.
Yeah. Well, then a year before I retired, they built these apartments out at Chesterfield.
Yeah.
You know where those
The Skyview apartments, or
no, the one's right downtown there in Water and
oh, okay. I don't know what to call
Cardinal Apartments. They were Cardinal Apartments. Plumwood, I think it is. Yeah, Plumwood Apartments. Well, my brother managed some of those for those people, same people in Florida, and his son opened up a new plant for him in Atlanta, Georgia. And their main plant was Columbus, Ohio, but we decided, well, we wouldn't need to do something else. So the year before I retired, Mary we applied for that job, but the day I retired, we went to Richmond, Indiana and interviewed for it. And so they gave us a job. So apartments weren't even there yet. You know, they had the foundations down, but that's all that was there. So we had some of those rented before they even built them, and we rented them out of our home, and we lived over by Meadows Night School then. So anyhow, we managed those for a year, and I said, hey, this ties me down too much. I didn't retire to get into this. So, and the headaches, you know. Sometimes we come home one time and a guy had his house on fire, you know, and put a pan of grease on the stove and left it and went to sleep, stuff like that. So we got out of that, so we couldn't go fishing when I wanted to, and she couldn't get away. And it's nice for somebody that doesn't have anything else to do and needs a place to live. You know, you get your rent and your utilities free, and all you got to do is buy your food. You know. So we did it for a year, but we got out of that, and then we bought this place, and we still take vacations, and what we did with the Marine group most of the time, and now what we do now, we go to California, and usually about the middle of February and stay till about the 1st of May and live with our daughter, because she never married, so we keep house, and Mary cooks the food while she works, and then they go shopping, you know.
Nice arrangement.
You know how that is. Men go shopping to get something. Women go shopping just to shop. You know.
Understand. Do you think of anything we've missed? Anything we left out?
Nope.
Okay.
Posterity.
We always give our veterans a chance to say a few words for posterity. You got any words of wisdom you'd like to share with folks?
Well, I'll tell you. My son's lady friend went with him down to the lake, and I said, I was sitting with her one day, and I says, see, I've always felt that it's every generation's duty to try to make the world better for the next generation. She said, I agree. I said that to my youngest grandson Sunday, Father's Day. He says, it ain't going to happen. That's the attitude they got today, you know. I don't understand it. But our country is headed the wrong direction. Until they can get God back in the schools and in the courts, we're not going nowhere but down. That's the way I feel about it.
That's a solution. That's a solution. And there's still plenty of people out there who know that solution.
Yeah, there
They'll
is.
come around.
There is, but I don't know. There's a lot of them the other way too.